time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Got a great crowd filing in here already. 744 strong in the YouTube chat, 796 strong on Rumble. We got Jake in the house. The gang is all here. Thank you guys all very much for being here. We all hope you had a very, very good weekend. We have a ton of stuff to get to tonight, so we're going to jump right in just a second, but we do want to give our schedule for the week. Post-duopoly show tomorrow, 8 p.m., with Hardlands Media and RBN. That's on Revolutionary Blackout Network's channel, obviously. Tuesday, we're live at 2 p.m., and then Wednesday, noontime, noon Eastern, special matinee before you hit the road for your Thanksgiving destination or before you hit the bars. We have a special supporter stream this Wednesday at noon, a special call-in Dissidents pre-Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Eve show as a special thank you to our paid members. And so that is the schedule for the week. Obviously, we're off Thanksgiving Day. And then we got a movie club on Saturday nights, which is the final day of the month. And that is for patrons only. And then we're back on Sunday. So there you go. Another full week. Another full week of programming. Great week to sign up and become a member. We are thankful for our members. We try our best to make it worthwhile for all of you. And we are looking forward to a very, very busy week ahead. All right.
I just ordered some special props for movie nights.
There you go.
Back up there.
Oh, nice. All right. Wonderful. That's exciting. Nice hint there. Like I said, folks, a great crowd filing in. They're filing in real quick now. So please hit that like button when you get here. Hit that subscribe button and that follow button. So, folks, we're going to start out with a little World War III watch because Joe Biden has been escalating a lot, sending the longer-range missiles into Ukraine, sending the anti-personnel mines to Ukraine, really trying his best to escalate before Donald Trump takes office. So what have we been saying? What have we been hoping for? We've been crossing our fingers. Maybe there will be a statement out of Donald Trump or, at the very least, his transition team telling the Russians, hey, never mind this crazy old man trying to start World War III. We're not interested in that. We're interested in peace. So please bear with us at this time for the next 50 some odd days, and then we will work this out when we get in office. So I was very excited for that reason to hear from incoming National Security Advisor to Donald Trump, Mike Waltz. He went on the Sunday show today, and let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear some de-escalation. Fingers crossed, everybody. Knock on wood.
I also want to be clear on one thing, Jillian. Jake Sullivan and I have had discussions. We've met. For our adversaries out there that think this is a time of opportunity, that they can play one administration off the other, they're wrong. And we are hand in glove. We are one team with the United States in this transition.
That is good to hear, certainly.
Good to hear for who? That's not good to hear. That's actually the exact opposite of what would have been good to hear. That was actually the exact wrong thing to say. Remember, we've been saying for the last week, we need the Trump team to step up and say, hey, we're going to de-escalate. We're going to separate ourselves from the Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan foreign policy. We don't need to hear that we're working hand in glove with Jake Sullivan. If we wanted somebody to work hand in glove with Jake Sullivan, they'd have voted for fucking Kamala Harris. Like, why have an election for? Oh, yeah, no, there's going to be total continuity. Yeah, we're working hand in glove with Jake Sullivan, current architect of World War III. That was exactly the wrong thing to say. I would have to give that the lowest grade I possibly could. That's an F right there. That's an F right there.
Tip my hat to the new Constitution.
Yeah.
The Who summed up revolutions and their destiny and their usual fate very well. Meet the new boss. Same as the old boss. What we just have? What's his name? Gorka. The fuck is that
Sebastian
guy's name?
Gorka.
Gorka?
Seb.
Yeah. Well, his idea of strategy is, hey, let's threaten Putin. Let's tell him we're gonna give the Ukrainians more arms if you don't negotiate. So I don't know how long it's going to be before people run out of cope, but they seem to be going out of their way to accelerate the process of getting everyone blackpilled.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty lousy. I mean, I would hate to hear Scott Ritter's reaction to this because we talked about this when he was on Jimmy's show with us. And like I said, pretty much the exact opposite. Look at what he says here. This is unbelievable. I'll play one more time. It's short.
For our adversaries out there that think this is a time of opportunity, that they can play one administration off the other, they're wrong. And we are hand in glove. We are one team with the United States in this transition.
That is good to hear, sir.
Our adversaries think they could play one administration against the other. Aren't the voters supposed to play one administration against the other? Isn't that the point of having an election, to play one administration against the other, to compete over who gets to run the country based on what vision of the world, not to continue the same policy? Oh, yeah, I've been talking with Jake. So, yeah, I know Trump has run against World War III, says he's going to wrap this up in a day. Hey, listen, I've been talking with Jake Sullivan, the guy who's been pushing this the whole time, the guy who's been agitating World War III the whole time. I've been talking. We're seeing eye to eye on everything. And if Russia thinks that there's going to be any real change, if Russia thinks they could play our administration off of the Biden administration, they got another thing coming. Why? Isn't that the whole point of changing the guards?
And you're also de-incentivizing Putin to show restraint until January 20th.
Yes.
In light of the decision they just made to allow long-range weapons into Russia. This is what a lot of people said when we said, look, in the end, we can't endorse genocide. We can't support Trump, even if you want to make the argument that he's better on something. And people would say he's better on Ukraine, to which we answered, it's not clear where he is on Ukraine. He said 5 different things about Ukraine. And his shtick about, I'm going to get in, I'm going to wrap it up in a day. I will refer to you to his big, beautiful health plan. I will refer you to how he was going to tax hedge fund managers. That was in his first term. He didn't really run on that this time. But you will see when we get into his new cabinet a little more. Not only is he not taxing them, he's putting them in charge of the Treasury.
Quite the astounding piece of sound. That's exactly what we were looking for there.
They fooled him last time. They fooled him last time. This time, you'll see.
You'll see. He's wised up.
It's not like this guy is basically a Borscht Belt comic with the greatest stage to perform on in the world, and that's what he's in it for. No, he got really serious about policy all of a sudden. The Trump you saw last time, who basically wiped his balls with an N95 mask in the middle of a pandemic, that guy's gone.
Yeah.
There's a very serious Donald Trump. No, the people around him are not going to run his administration like last time. No, he's really digging down, doing his paperwork.
Yep.
Digging down into the weeds.
Yeah. Yep. Not good. Believe me, not good. Behan Edema, thanks for the $5 over on YouTube, says, thanks to Matt Gaetz and Pete Hegseth, I listened to Joy Reid and Molly Zhang fast discuss male on female sexual assault. Enlightening readout. There you go. Well, you got something out of it. Mark Pugliese, thanks to the $5. I wonder if we shouldn't be making more of John Kerry's complaint that they can't brainwash us enough. Well, I mean, that is certainly an ongoing concern, Mark. Thank you for the donation. Michael Castillo is here with $100. Oh, Russ and I both had the same idea.
Oh, you did it too?
I uploaded it too, yeah.
Oh.
So
all right.
good.
We both made it.
We both made it. So let's have it. Hit it.
Blasphemy against you. Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ? You
Here's mine.
blasphemy against you. Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ? You loser.
There you go. See, we both made it for you, Michael. Thank you very much. That's $100
at
and
the
a
last
cowbell.
minute. Did you do it at the last minute too?
I had it made, but I forgot to load it. And then when I saw it donated,
I literally did it in the last minute of the countdown.
Okay. Yeah, so you were reminded in the last minute. I had it. I just didn't upload it.
I thought we both forgot. Yeah.
Michael says, good evening, gentlemen. I have a question for you two. Why does Claire McCaskill look like Sally Jesse Raphael with a huge rack? I don't know.
My take on Claire McCaskill is she looks like the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood in grandma costume.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what Russell says. Or the
what
Hansel and
big
Gretel
eyes
witch.
you have. Yeah, or the Hansel and Gretel witch. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the wolf in Red Riding Hood, that Russell had made that case to me, and that kind of stuck. So I go with that. But I appreciate the reference, Michael Castillo. Thank you for that very much. Jake is Overfield and Rumble rants here. Hillary Hinton says, just uploaded my resume to postapocalypse.org. I figured Bono, Gates, Maddow, Thiel, Fink, Schwab et al. are going to need the floor sweepers in the underground base beneath the Denver airport. There you go. Thank you.
You know, it's funny you say that, man. I just watched the Live Files episode about the base under the Denver airport.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've heard about that. All right, cool. We are going to keep going, moving right along here, everybody. Okay, so this got a lot of attention on the Twitter machine. Brent Welder tweets out, this morning's email from Bernie Sanders is not just some run-of-the-mill campaign email. So let's take a look. He screenshotted what this email is. Dear Brent, tough times. The American people understand that our economic and political systems are rigged. They know.
How does he remember everyone's name like that?
Yeah, right. He remembers everybody's name. They know that the very rich get much richer while almost everyone else becomes poorer. They know that we are moving rapidly into an oligarchic form of society. The Democrats ran a campaign protecting the status quo and tinkering around the edges. Trump and the Republicans campaigned on change and on smashing the existing order. Not surprisingly, the Republicans won. Unfortunately, the change that Republicans will bring about will make a bad situation worse and a society of gross inequality even more unequal, more unjust, and more bigoted. Will the Democratic leadership learn the lessons of their defeat and create a party that stands with the working class and is prepared to take on the enormously powerful special interests that dominate our economy, our media, and our political life? Highly unlikely. They are much too wedded to the billionaires and corporate interests that fund their campaigns. Given that reality, where do we go from here? That is the very serious question that needs a lot of discussion in the coming weeks and months. How do we expand our efforts to build a multiracial, multi-generational working class movement? How do we create a 50-state movement, not politics based on the Electoral College and battleground states? How do we deal with Citizens United and the ability of billionaires to buy elections? How do we recruit more working class candidates for office at all levels of government? Should we be supporting independent candidates who are prepared to take on both parties? How do we better support union organizing? How do we put together listening sessions around the country that intentionally seek input from people who did not vote Democrats in the last election? How do we best use social media to build our movement and combat the lies and disinformation coming from the billionaire class and right-wing media? How do we build sustainable and long-term issue-based organizing structures that live beyond individual campaigns? These are some of the political questions that together we need to address, and it is absolutely critical that you make your voice heard during this process. Not me, us. That is the only way forward. In solidarity, Bernie Sanders. So, you know, people got excited about this a little bit. Brianna Joy Gray says, is it me, or is this a very dirty break coded email? Nathan Robinson, hope he starts a political party. Peter Dow, is Bernie starting a new party? So the reason there's speculation about a new party is because he basically expresses pessimism about the Democrats' prospects. And that first line of this slide here, should we be supporting independent candidates who are prepared to take on both parties? Okay, so my take on this is pretty short and sweet. I'm not going to do a whole lot of emoting about Bernie Sanders and all the hurt feelings around those campaigns whatever you think he's going to do, whether he's going to start a new party or not start a third party, what I will tell you is it is quite simply, as a matter of fact, too late for Sanders. It's too late for him. Had he started a new party, a workers' party, in 2016, he would have had at least, at a minimum, 5 million people sign up and enroll as card-carrying members of that new party. He got 13 million votes in that primary. His supporters were notoriously fanatical in their support for him. They were amongst the most highly enthusiastic voters that we have seen back any candidate in generations, rivaling Obama and Trump, obviously that same year. 13 million who were very committed supporters who had been systematically targeted for a giant smear campaign by the DNC, so they had a lot of reason to want to dem exit at that time. And so of those 13 million who voted for him, I guarantee you at least minimum 5 million would have enrolled in a new party, and you would have had a real head start in organizing. And by not doing that, by choosing not to do that, here's the bitter pill. He really set the left back at least 30 years in terms of electoral politics by not doing that, because it is going to take at least that long to build something up to the point where it could wield that kind of power in that kind of numbers at the ballot box. The Greens have been at this for over 40 years. Look at where they are. The Libertarians, look at where they are. He had a chance to do this all at once, to funnel a lot of people, millions of people, into a new party all at once. And by not doing that, he set the left back in the electoral space at least 30 years. That's probably being optimistic. Now, that's not to say we're powerless for 30 years. We've seen what a good strike can do. The longshoremen had their wages increased in a couple days. Didn't take tens of millions of people. Took unions to walk out. It took the union leader to say, I'll cripple you. Pay my men or I'll cripple you. I don't give a fuck. So I'm not saying you're powerless, but in the electoral space, you're powerless. And so it's simply too late. It's too late. If you started this 8 years ago, you had millions of people ready to go. You had 30,000 people showing up everywhere you spoke. Now you can barely get 500 people to show up in the Bronx when you go there with Jamal Bowman and AOC. So whatever you think, we could speculate for fun. It's kind of a waste of time because whatever his intentions are, it's too late for him. He missed his moment, and that's that. That's just the reality.
I'm not sure about your police work there, Norm.
Sure.
When you consider the fact that only, 11% of Sanders voters ended up not voting for Hillary Clinton, I think 5 million is wildly optimistic, which is funny from a misanthropic, black-pilled guy like you. Okay, you don't. I do. I think probably most of them would have, they might have split the difference. They might have, if we're talking about Bernie running against Hillary there, if he had actually run against her.
No, I'm talking about
if you're
starting
talking
party.
about just starting it and signing up, but then
After
still
the
voting
election.
for Hillary,
Yeah.
then maybe. In terms of actually refusing to vote for Hillary, I think.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about after the election,
all right,
especially after Trump. No, because it's important, especially after Trump won. After Trump won is when that wing of the party had a lot of wind at its back. So that's when that enrollment would have started. I'm not talking about for that campaign season.
Right, gotcha. If you're talking about signing up for party, maybe. If we're talking about dirty break and running independent, maybe 1 million. Maybe 1 million. Maybe
no,
2.
They wouldn't have voted
maybe
against Hillary. No.
But yeah, signing up for the party, sure. Now I'm gonna be nuanced about this. I think that we have got to be very careful going forward, particularly under these circumstances, not to reject people out of hand who want to be part of a movement. In terms of Sanders leading anything, yeah, nobody trusts him like that. Aside from it just not being his moment, nobody cares. Nobody shows up to his speeches. Nobody watches when he does live streams.
Right.
Nick put out a tweet about showing how many people were watching his live stream for Harris, and he was like, I do better numbers than this on my
Right.
live streams, and it's true. We all do. Like
Sure.
nobody gives a shit what he has to say. You want to show real seriousness to me, not in a leadership sense, but in terms of wanting to be part of something. Go show up at the worker strike back meeting in February.
Yeah.
Go show up there. That sends doesn't mean you have to join up with whatever's there. Go check it out. See what you think about what's going on there. That definitely signals that you're open to breaking away from the Democratic Party. See, a lot of people, as is to be expected, heard what they wanted to hear in that. He's talking about why people didn't vote for Democrats. He's not going all out. He's a very smart guy. If he wanted to say we should all walk out of the Democratic Party, I bet he could figure out how to say that. It wouldn't be very hard to say that. That's not what he means. He's really not to be trusted in any kind of leadership role. If Bernie wants to come and say, I fully support what Shama's trying to do, we need a separate independent party away from the Democratic Party, fine.
Yeah, no.
That's it. That's it. You want to say, and I'm going to have a big meeting about where the Democrats went wrong. Shut up. We're not getting sheepdog back into how we fix the Democrats or how we work from the inside. The kindest possible interpretation, and I don't really believe this, but the kindest possible interpretation, he genuinely believes that the challenges to third-party organizing are so great that it's really the only way to go. I don't believe that. I believe they've got stuff on him. I think that's part of it. I think his wife did shenanigans up at that college, and you never heard about it once he dropped out. You notice you were getting a lot of reporting about that. All of a sudden, that reporting went away. I think that's part of it. So, yeah, I mean, he's not to be trusted, but I think we can't just go, fuck you, Bernie, don't come around. If he wants to come around, let him come around.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I feel the same way about that. Look, the Greens are going to be at the Worker Strike Back conference. Like, do we turn people away and say, no, you're not welcome here? Like, no. And if whatever he puts together, if they want to help organize a strike somewhere, whatever, fine. I mean,
sure.
It would be stupid and counterproductive to, cut your nose off to spite your face, over hurt feelings. No, I mean, I don't think he should be shunned in that way. But in terms of the question of, like you said, is he going to spearhead anything? Obviously not. And my suspicion is that he's not talking about a third party. He's talking about some group, some organization, which ironically he already fucking has one or had one. I don't know to what extent he's still involved, but that's what Our Revolution was supposed to be, was it not? I mean, isn't that it? That's the pack that came out of the Bernie campaign. And what are they? They're a Democrat sheepdog pack. So I don't know what he's talking about. What, he's going to start another one of those? He already has one of those. What, are they going to be open to endorsing third-party candidates and Democrats? Is that what they're going to do? They're going to look for progressive Democrats and or independents? That's kind of what it sounds like to me. That's
where he's not to be trusted. There's all I'm saying. If Bernie wants to show up and be in solidarity with an action that you're taking or with a candidate that you're supporting, sure, don't throw tomatoes at the guy.
Right.
But certainly he can't take anything he takes the lead on, can't be trusted.
Right. Yeah. No, I feel the exact same way. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth if he's there to support you in some effort that's already in action.
Not that he has any muscle at this point.
Yeah.
He can't even get people to watch his live stream in the middle of an election. He can't even get people to show up in the Bronx in an election cycle. Him, AOC, Bowman, a few hundred people total.
Yeah. Few hundred people on a bright sunny day in the Bronx, right on the eve of the primary. That's the thing. He just doesn't have the cachet. He couldn't do it if he wanted to. And so the question, is he going to try and create a third party? My guess is no. My guess it'll be some sort of, if it's anything at all. I mean, it could be just, who the fuck knows, man? It could be a new podcast. Hey, how do we reach people and break through the misinformation? It could just be something that simple. Right. But if it's something any more than that, it's going to be limited to, hey, we're going to endorse good candidates wherever they are. And no doubt most of them will end up being progressive Democrats and some will be independents. And that's going to be the most you can hope for. That's what I think.
Right. And there's such hopium in space. Come on.
Yeah.
Brianna, come on. Come on. You worked with the guy. You know all he's going to do is sheepdog people back into the Democratic Party. If he was going to make that kind of move, he would have made it by now.
Yeah. And this is the thing, in the wake of this 2024 election, this is you've seen a lot of people on TV, a lot of the pundits, a lot of the op-ed writers, a lot of the analysts walk right up to saying this. They won't actually say this because it'll be too bruising to their own egos and probably too damaging to the brand of whatever outlet they're talking for or writing for. But the verdict of 2024 is that the Bernie 2016 movement was right the whole time, that we were right the whole time, and that the Democrats made a fatal error by kicking us out of the party, which is basically what they did. And to see this kind of realization, like let's assume that Bernie were going to try and start a new party now. Wouldn't that just piss you off even more? Because it's too late. Like he can't do it now.
Right.
Like if you had come to this realization, let's just give him the benefit of every doubt and say he's had an epiphany, right? If you had come to this realization when people were saying you needed to, the left could have had a real shot to influence the electoral space, even if we weren't racking up win after win after win. Like I said, after that election, after that Trump victory, if Bernie said, all right, we tried your way, this is bullshit, this failed, I got 13 million votes, we're starting a new party to try something new next time, I think millions of people would have signed up. I think millions of people were ready for that at that moment, as evidenced by the fact that they voted that Trump won, that they were ready for something new.
Although frankly, the basic argument that in the end, Trump was never a real threat to real power. I said, if he's allowed to assume office, I have to reevaluate my thoughts about the deep state or Trump. And as you see this cabinet shaping up, I think with Bernie, they wouldn't have missed.
Right. Yeah. There would have been no chart at the rally.
Yes. Yeah.
There'd be no graphics, no exhibits.
Yeah, they would have killed that motherfucker. So, saying, hey, well, he could have, I don't think he would have survived it. But, and to say, well, but Trump did. Well, look at what Trump's doing.
Yeah.
Look at what we just showed.
We're working hand in glove.
Even on Ukraine. On Ukraine, the one thing where we were kind of like, yeah, man, he'll probably be better there, maybe, possibly. Look what he's doing.
Yeah. Working hand in glove with Jake Sullivan, right?
Hand in glove with President Sullivan.
If I wanted someone to work hand in glove with Jake Sullivan, I'd have wrote in Tim Walz. Ha-ha. Donald Turner, thanks for the $10. So appreciate the Due Dissidents team and this soup of verbal mush across all platforms. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Donald. Appreciate that. It's very kind of you. JM, thanks for the $2 and the thumbs up. Benjamin Franklin, thanks for the $10. Good to see you, Benjamin Franklin. My fave Jew boys, show so good it gives orgasms. There you go. Thank you, Benjamin Franklin. Appreciate that. Abiding, thanks for the donation. Bernie the Cuck would never have wrote the letter if he was keeping his committee chair. Thank you, Abiding. Appreciate that. D. Wortham, it seems to me that the most significant thing from the election was not an apparent shift to Trump, but the non-voters not swayed by the lesser two evils narrative, which is cause for hope. Good observation. Yes, Trump gained only about 1 million votes from 2020, and the Democrats lost about 7 million votes. So, yes, that's the final math.
I think he gained 2 million now.
Whatever, 1 or 2. It was 75, now it's 76, something like that.
Yeah, I think he gained 2 million votes, I believe.
Yeah, 1 or 2. It's in the ballpark. I think it was like 76 and change now. So what was it, 74 and change last time? 75 about, yeah, something like that. Missy Graham has a duopoly in his arsehole. There you go. Thank you, Jenna. Appreciate that. Trump peace plan equals infrastructure week. LOL. Thank you. Yes, back from the road. Appreciate that very much. Okay, we will move right along here. So, folks, we know that the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant against Benjamin Netanyahu. The question is, where is it to be enforced, if anywhere? Well, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau confirms that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant will be arrested if they step foot in Canada after the ICC's decision to issue arrest warrants. So here's Justin Trudeau when asked about this. Apparently on the set of the Rachel Ray cooking show. I don't know where they're doing this interview, but here he is.
Song, CBC News. Now that the ICC has issued warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Canadian law enforcement is obligated to arrest them should they come to Canada. Will you allow that to happen, or will you step in to prevent an arrest?
First of all, as Canada has always said, it's really important that everyone abide by international law. This is something we've been calling on from the beginning of the conflict. We are one of the founding members of the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice. We stand up for international law, and we will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the international courts. This is just who we are as Canadians.
That's who we are as Canadians. We do the right thing when we're absolutely forced to. I-24 News reports France and the Netherlands to enforce ICC arrest warrants restricting Netanyahu's travel. The International Criminal Court's recent orders are causing significant international fallout, as France and the Netherlands have announced they will respect the arrest warrants issued against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. This decision means that both leaders will face restrictions on entering 124 countries worldwide, potentially, not technically in the final math. We'll get to that in a minute. Following the issuance of the warrants, the Netherlands confirmed it would act on the court's orders. Shortly thereafter, France, Belgium, and Jordan joined in, indicating their intent to enforce the arrest warrants as well. The implications of these orders are profound. Netanyahu and Gallant will be unable to enter numerous countries, including the Czech Republic, Hungary, which is not true as it turns out, Poland, Greece, Germany, also not true as it turns out. These are countries that have since opted out. That's why we're saying that. The UK, Spain, Australia, Canada, how do you say that word? How do you say that country? I don't even know.
You got me.
Seychelles. I don't know why. I'm sure he's very upset he doesn't go there. I've never even heard of it. South Africa, Cyprus, South Korea, Argentina, which also opted out, and Brazil, among others. So there are certain countries that raised their hand and said, we're not enforcing this warrant, even though we are state parties to the Rome Statute. Hungary, Germany, and Argentina, 3 being on that list, placed incorrectly or prematurely, depending on the exact time of the publication of this article. But generally speaking, yes, a lot of countries have followed suit, including many key allies of the United States, saying that Benjamin Netanyahu is now a wanted man, for all intents and purposes, on our territory. So Senator Foghorn Leghorn was not happy about this, and he was asked by Sean Hannity what he's going to do about it. And so here's what Lindsey Graham has to say to our allies. Keep in mind, he's not talking about our adversaries here. He's not talking about Russia, China, North Korea. He's talking about our allies here. This is what he has to say to any ally who enforces the ruling and the warrant of the International Criminal Court.
Who are going to help the ICC as a nation enforce their arrest warrant against Bibi and Gallant, the former defense minister. I will put sanctions on you as a nation. You're going to have to pick the rogue ICC versus America. So to any ally, Canada, Britain, Germany, France, if you try to help the ICC, we're going to sanction you.
Well, that means I want every ally, and you saw little Justin in Canada and his position. What should the penalty be?
We should crush your economy because we're next. Why?
We should crush your economy. So our
Blame
allies,
Canada.
Yeah. Britain, France, Canada, any of our friends who abide by international law and honor the arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court, any ally of ours that does not raise their hand and make an exception for Benjamin Netanyahu will have their economies crippled by the United States. We will sanction your country, even though you're an ally. I mean, this is just gangsterism in broad daylight. If you remember back when the ICC announced they were seeking an arrest warrant for Netanyahu, Congress passed a bill to sanction the ICC. You had, Tom Cotton say this is a rogue court, a kangaroo court. He has since come out and said a very similar thing. Here's Tom Cotton again on the 21st, just a few days ago. The ICC is a kangaroo court, and Karim Khan is a deranged fanatic. Woe to him and anyone who tries to enforce these outlaw warrants. Let me give them all a friendly reminder. The American law on the ICC is known as the Hague Invasion Act for a reason. Think about it. Again, just gangsterism in broad daylight. Richie Torres, a Democrat, of course. The ICC's decision to issue arrest warrants against the leadership of Israel represents the weaponization of international law at its most egregious. The ICC has set a precedent for criminalizing self-defense. Any country daring to defend itself against an enemy that exploits civilians as human shields will face persecution, posing as prosecution. Blah, blah, blah. You get what he's saying there. We ain't reading all that. Free Palestine. Senator John Thune, the new Senate Majority Leader, has a message for the ICC as well. Let's take a look at this video right here.
Before I begin, I'd like to say a word about the International Criminal Court's issuing arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant. The ICC's decision is outrageous, unlawful, and dangerous. Israel has a right to defend itself, and the ICC's rogue actions only enable the terrorists who seek to wipe Israel off the map. These actions threaten Israel, but left unchecked, they could pose a threat to the United States in the future. The Senate needs to stand strongly with our ally at this time. I am again calling on Leader Schumer to bring a bill to the floor sanctioning the ICC, which the House has already passed with bipartisan support. Last night, the Senate sent a strong bipartisan message of support for Israel by rejecting resolutions that would have denied Israel the lethal aid that they need. Now the Democrat leader needs to bring up the ICC sanctions bill.
Which, as I mentioned, this was the bill that they passed over the spring.
If he chooses not to act, the new Senate Republican majority next year will. We will stand with Israel and make this bill and other supportive legislation a top priority in the next Congress. In 6 weeks, Republicans will retake the majority here. And when we do, we will make it clear that the United States stands squarely in Israel's corner.
Well, a few countries that need no further intimidation. Of course, Javier in Argentina rejects international arrest order against Israel's Netanyahu. Viktor Orban invites Netanyahu to Hungary, flouting the ICC arrest warrant. So Orban not only rejected the ICC's wishes to arrest Netanyahu, but as a troll to rub it in his face, he actually invited him to go and step foot on Hungarian soil and defy their warrant. And then, of course, Germany won't arrest Netanyahu because of its Nazi history. Yes. So apparently
they want to celebrate it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Apparently, Israel gets a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card in Germany because of their Nazi history. So there's the overview. So these are some of our fellow countries here who have already bucked the warrant. But to those who are thinking about it, your government right now, if you're watching this within the walls of the empire, your government is threatening our own allies to cripple their economies if they uphold international law by honoring this arrest warrant.
All right. We knew this was going to happen when Trump got elected. I want people who are running around screaming about how Trump is a revolutionary to explain these things to me. How is this revolutionary? How is Trump making America great again, or putting America first, when you see all of these Republicans who are ready to back Israel to the hilt, which also seems very woke. Isn't it interesting that these people like Orban, who are thought of as being so anti-woke, Malay, as being so anti-woke. You notice all of these people bend over for Israel. All of them. Of them. See, how much more woke can it be, right? This is a people who, because of their identity, if you even suggest something about their country is unsavory, much less genocidal, you should be shut down, as we'll see with Pam Bondi. The FBI should be questioning you. You should be deported. That seems pretty woke. So the question for a lot of our MAGA friends is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You're very happy to listen to channels like this who are criticizing the Biden-Harris administration for taking an overly Zionist posture. Are you going to say anything about this? Are you going to make the Trump administration's life hell the way you went after the Biden and Harris people? Are you going to be all over social media attacking his cabinet picks, attacking Donald Trump? Because if you're not, you have to stop bothering the libs, because you're a lib. You're just the flip side of a lib. You're the same. You're the same. You're made of the same stuff. If now that it has an R, if now that it has an R branding, you're good with genocide. You're good with all these people like Malay, like Orban, all being the wokest motherfuckers on the planet. Well, come on, man. You're not serious. At that point, I don't even understand why you would be involved in politics other than to feel like you're part of a team, which is the same thing for the libs. That's what I'm saying. You're just like a lib. That's why they're involved in it. They don't have any political opinions other than what they're told to think. They like being part of something. They're lonely.
Right. Yeah, and I just want people to understand what Thune said there, the incoming Senate majority leader, is that if Schumer doesn't take up that ICC sanction bill, he will. And he will. The incoming Senate Republicans will take up that bill. They will pass that bill through Congress. They will get it to Donald Trump's desk, and Donald Trump will sign it. So we will now have it codified in our law, the sanctioning of the International Criminal Court for prosecuting war crimes against a genocidal state. Furthermore, we are going to threaten economic sanctions against our allies who do not join us in that.
Right. And this is, when you look at the history of different imperial powers, we're really one of the worst, if not the worst, nations to ever hold this power. The level of arrogance that we are imposing on the world, the idea that we would turn around after presenting ourselves, our whole national mythos is the shining city on the hill. We justify our power by saying we're not like those empires of the past. We bring human rights. We value democracy and the rights of all people. And you're going to talk about sanctioning your allies for following international law. You're talking about retaliating against the International Criminal Court created to hold people accountable for genocide and war crimes. That's just evil, and that is why most of the world hates us, and most of the world will celebrate gleefully when America, as it inevitably must, as all empires do, falls.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Hillary Hinton, humanity's superpower, seems to be getting fooled again. Fingers crossed that'll be the Omega Man who disses Dr. Zaius and stumbles upon the half-buried statue of libtards in the Forbidden Zone. Thank you, Hillary Hinton. Appreciate that. Ravid, Russell, will you be there on the holiday nostalgia train with your mustache in December?
Mustache.
Holiday nostalgia train with your mustache in December. Holiday nostalgia train. What do you mean?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you, though. Kenman.
Mustaches are for orgies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How do we sell out our movement and refuse to call the mass slaughter of Palestinians a genocide? Yeah, that's true. He hasn't even called it a genocide. That's true. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, that's what Nick has talked about, and I'm sure we'll talk about this tomorrow on the Post-Duopoly show a little more, is that, was this going to be a pro-NATO left party anyway. Like it's that's the thing. Like, what would that even look like were he to actually do it?
Right.
Crab Eater's real. Thanks for the $10.
Support for genocide is a deal breaker for any left project out post duopoly.
Well, of course. I started working for a legal aid organization in a major southern city, and you would not believe the dark shit I've heard working the intake line. Nothing gets me to burn it all down faster. Interesting. I bet that stuff is grating and frustrating. Keaton, when you said your response to Bernie was going to be short and sweet, I thought it was going to be like mine, which is fuck Bernie. Yeah, well, it's not as short or as sweet as that. I don't think people would show up to watch that if that was all I had to say.
Oh, I see. The mustache thing was a reference to my Halloween costume.
Ah, okay, that's right.
I see.
Got it. Okay, let's see. Where were we at here in the YouTube super chat line? Kuznetsky Bassane, thanks for the $9.99, says it'll take a miracle to get out of this one. The Russians mean exactly what they say. Goodbye, military-industrial complex states of America. Thank you, Kuznetsky Bassane. I don't think you. I mean, that looks like an ominous but accurate prediction from here. Eliphas Elric says, speaking of the why filtered, y'all ought to do a segment on the UFO congressional hearing. Is that going on? I haven't been paying attention.
No, it happened like a week or two ago. Yeah, people say we have alien technology and all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff.
Apatzimiosi, thank you for the £5. Sanders is controlled opposition and knows on which side his bread is buttered. He's just performing his lefty buffoon role in the political pageant. Yeah, I don't think he's going to really do much of anything.
Yes.
Kuznetsky Bassane, thanks for the $4.99. 3 of my texts were censored by YouTube. Cheers to democracy. Well, sorry to hear that, Kuznetsky Bassane, but thank you for persisting. Gareth Richmond, thanks for the $5 Canadian. If humanity extinguishes itself for the egos of President Roomba and President Dick Piano, I'm going to be super bummed. Yes, I like that, President Dick Piano. It's a good one. Ethel Merman, thanks for the $10, says that's in Midwestern money. In New York money, that's $2.55. That's true.
Damn
yes.
Right.
Landrew is here for $100. Let's get Landrew
snap.
His drop and his cowbell. Thank you so much, Landrew. Very kind of you. In solidarity and community with the ICC for finally doing their job. Free Palestine. By the way, Bernie, go home. Thank you, Andrew. Putting a heart on that one. Absolutely. Well said. All right, what do we got next? Oh, yeah, so speaking of the woke right, we've been talking a little bit about Javier Milei and Viktor Orban, all these anti-woke crusaders who make an exception for Israel to exempt them from the arrest warrant of the International Criminal Court. Candace Owens dropped this video here where she goes a step further than she ever has to my knowledge. I'll admit I'm not a regular viewer of her content, but she goes as far here as to essentially disavow the woke right from which she was formerly associated with, at least if you consider Ben Shapiro to be part of that movement, which, as I understand, he is included by people who have coined the term. So here is Candace Owens going off on the woke right, really speaking as strongly on the Israel-Palestine issue and the Gaza genocide as I've ever heard her speak.
Innocent children slaughtered, the number of children, innocent children slaughtered, the number is now above tens of thousands of children that have been slaughtered, is not only an American value, it's a conservative value, it is a Christian value. And to the hypocrites and the spineless people who can't say that, they have no place in our future government. I truly do believe that. And that's why I say this unabashedly. I just can't believe, I cannot believe what I am seeing today of people pretending this is about anti-Semitism. Like, if somebody else was in there, no one would be saying anything. Like, yeah, no, I'm sure if Putin was in Israel and had murdered 20,000 children, everyone would just be chill, because this is really just about the fact that they're Jewish. I mean, it is just mind-blowing. It really is. The dishonesty, the deception, the Western media smearing and libeling anybody who has a soul and the decency to say that children should not be murdered like this, water should not be cut off, electricity should not be cut off, You have Doctors Without Borders saying they've never seen anything like this. They went over there. They've been in multiple war zones, saying that, writing pieces, op-eds saying this is not a war zone. This is not a war zone. This is a genocide. Everybody's just conspiring to hate Jews. I mean, it's pointedly ridiculous, and it is really telling when even Israeli publications are saying that calling this anti-Semitism is a joke. It just is a joke. And I am proud of myself for being on the right side of this thing. And I'm embarrassed. I am so embarrassed that I ever had anything to do with the woke right. I didn't know they were woke on this issue. Like it took October 7th and all of this happening for me to see their true colors. And I am so embarrassed I had anything to do with these people. I really am. And I will not allow them to forget this. I will not allow them to forget that they stood on platforms, called themselves pro-life, called themselves anti-woke, collected money, went out to donors, asked for investments. And then when it actually mattered, they shirked. They shirked their responsibility. They completely cowered. And to think that the majority of people are men, it's even more sickening to me, to be honest with you. It's even more sickening.
طيب اليوم هو يوم الطفل العالمي. أنت إيش بتعرف عن حقوق الطفل؟
ولا حاجة.
It's a great video. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great video. And, just one thing, because she says, this should offend every conservative value and every Christian value. And I think that's true. It should offend a family value. Like if this is the party of family. This is the political ideology that stresses our families. Yeah, our family. Right. Yeah, exactly. White Western families. This is a party that preaches the importance of the family unit and the nuclear family. This is a genocide of the family. This is a genocide of women and children. The UN just did a report. The number one age demographic in terms of deaths is 5 to 9. 5 to 9. And when you add up the three different age demographics, 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, that is by far the largest death demographic cohort. It's sickening to say. Also, males and females being killed in pretty much equal number. They don't count little girls as women. So the way it breaks down is 44% of the deaths are children, 30% of the deaths are men, and 26% of the deaths are women. But among children, boys and girls killed pretty much equally when you look at the data. So this is an assault on the family to have these anti-woke family values, Christian values, conservative values, fucking posers run their mouths about how much they value God and faith and family and hearth and home. To be cheering this on, yeah, it's absolutely despicable on their own terms. It is in violation of their own premise as a commentator in this space, as a journalist, as an advocate for whatever they are advocates for. And yeah, she should not let them forget that. And I hope it's a bit of a wake-up call for her. And I would like to see her say something about Donald Trump on this front too, because he is about to continue this, and she obviously has it in her to stick her neck out in a certain way. So I hope she goes further, but that's a good start.
Yeah, she's been very courageous on this, much to the chagrin of many and the shock of some. I told you, after watching the documentary Uncle Tom about Black conservatives, I got the sense with her, she was heavily featured in that documentary. It's on Prime if anyone's curious. It was very good. I got the sense with her that she's sincere and honest, whether you agree or don't agree. So I wasn't, if there's anybody out of that cohort I might have expected this from, it would have been Candace Owens. So yes, this does, on the one hand, you would say this is very dangerous for her. On the other hand, as I have said, my experiences being at MAGA events is that this is coming from leadership. This is really not the rank and file. I would wager there are more people who see themselves as MAGA who agree with her position on this than agree with Donald Trump's position on this. So you're right. The question is, does she start calling out the administration? Does she actually start calling out Trump? Because as we can see, look, people are people, whether they're woke libs or whether they're woke right or whether they're people who just hope that life will be a little better under this administration than it was under the last one. Fact is, a lot of people are willing to turn their heads on genocide if they feel like it's going to be in their benefit to do so. So that's going to really be the question, man. Do MAGA people defend Trump because they like what they think he's going to do for them domestically, in spite of the fact that they were screaming about the genocide when Harris and Biden owned it? So who are you going to align with? So that's the real test for her. It's interesting to hear her talk about how now she's embarrassed she aligned with the woke right. I would never have thought I'd be speaking the words. Me and Candace Owens have gone on a similar philosophical journey, but we have. That was very, unlike Owens, I always had some distance from some of their views. But yes, Douglas Murray, I read his book. I agree with some things. I don't agree with others. When they were the only ones really speaking out against wokeness, I took them seriously. And after October 7th, you just found out it was all a sham. It was all a sham. And they still have the balls to go out and brand themselves that way. That's what's amazing to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's exactly right. And good for her for calling that out. Yeah, we're at night. We are at 2475 over on YouTube, which means we're almost ready for a 2525 drop. So thank you all for being here tonight. Very, very kind of you to be here. Thanks to Jake.
Oh yeah, aren't we almost there? We're at
almost
25.
there. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Yep, we are very, very close. I have the exact count because I'm here in the YouTube back end. Yes, so I get the exact numbers here. Latamaro, thanks for the $5. It's because those countries like Canada are not really allies. They are U.S. satellites. Thank you both for interesting streams. Exactly. Well, thank you, Latamaro. And yes, that's what we're hoping that we can basically just throw our weight around. And under Trump, we might. Under Trump, we might. I mean, what did I tell you? I said this is going to be the difference. You're going to see shit like this happen under Trump. The Democrats froze that bill in the ICC because Schumer was like, in an election year, we don't want to go to fucking sanctioning the court. The progressives are already on our ass enough. We have to virtue signal like we care about the Palestinians. And so we can't we can't pass this bill through the Senate and have Biden sign it. It's too much. It's too over the top in its expression of contempt for Arab life. Trump is not restrained by that. The Senate's going to pass it. Under the Republicans are going to get it to Trump's desk. He's going to sign it. That's the difference. That's the difference. Does it make much difference to Palestinians who are trapped in Gaza? No. But that is the difference. That's what we told you all along was going to be the difference. And you're going to start seeing this stuff happening pretty quickly in less than 60 days. Gelperman, sorry. Thanks for the $10. The Hague is in Holland, a NATO member. Under the NATO treaty requires the U.S. to use force against anyone who attacks a member state. Tom Cotton wants America to attack America. Well, okay. Yes. That guy, man. Holy shit. That guy, you talk about a fucking Nazi creep. That Tom Cotton is like a fuck. Like I always said, if they made American Psycho set in like Little Rock, he would star in it. He is really the
and he's a Huey Lewis fan.
Yeah, that guy is something else. Pronounced Seychelles. Thank you, Yassine. Yes, Tusker just messaged me and said that as well.
How does she know that? That is the last person I would expect to know that.
Who? Tusker? It's French. It's French. So that makes sense because C-H-E-L, so Seychelles. There you go. Okay. Thank you, Yassine. Appreciate that. Barbara Howard says it's pronounced Seychelles. There you go. All right. So you guys were there. Thank you. Christopher Lai, thanks for the $1.99 super sticker. Appreciate that. What happened here? Shotgun Justice. I'm surprised they let you have that screen name on YouTube, but God bless you. This is why I love you guys. Well, I see it's because you put the 0 and the 1 in there. Maybe that's why. This is why I love you guys. No double standards, holding everyone's feet to the fire, not getting captured by an audience, and being genuine. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That.
Thank you. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Not easy. Jelperman, thanks for the $5. Ever wonder what Dirty Harry would have been like if Grady Sutton was cast in the title role? Sorry. Just watch Lindsey Graham's threat against the ICC. Yes, thank you. Appreciate that, Jelperman. Appreciate that very much. Okay, let's go to some Rumble rants over here. Stoop sign, I've been a comedian and a journalist. However, I've indulged in a serious hard drugs for too long. I'm a 20-year addict that barely feels a day over 30. At some point, you want a full life attachment. Well, best of luck to you, Stoop sign.
I've heard the heroin can like pickle you. Like a lot of times the heroin addicts actually look younger.
Oh, is that right? I have not heard that.
Yeah. And then they go off the heroin, they fall apart.
Well, yeah, that I have heard about. That is one of the pitfalls of that for sure. Okay. Nina Kant, playing in politics game either party or third is still thinking we can vote our way out. Is this reality? Thoughts? Well, like I told you, I don't have any hope that he's going to actually do it, and Bernie doesn't have the cachet to get it to any point of serious contention now anyway. He did in 2016, but that ship has sailed. Thank you, Nina. Bernie's announcement, he's leaving his wife for Cardi B. That's fine. That's good. I like that. That's a good one. Thank you, Ken.
I don't think my twerking skills are quite ready for public consumption.
Yeah. Right.
But under her gentle ministrations, I'm getting there.
Yeah, exactly. Louise Brooks, I don't trust Bernie. He could give me my money back and do a call-in show and let people who supported him tell him all the reasons why we don't trust him anymore. Yeah, I mean, well, look, it could be a fireside chat thing. You never know what it is. But first of all, he's too old to really get a party off the ground. I mean, that sounds morbid to say, but it's not. What is he going to be, 83 next year? So, yeah, that's up there. Bernie is posturing. Says Don Sean Leah has no teeth, only gums. Nobody trusts this guy anymore. And yes, there was a time for a third party. No more. Yep, I agree. I agree with you.
Not
thank
that
you.
way.
Yep, indeed. P. Walker, Canada is only allowed to arrest those Chinese businesswomen we tell them to. Lindsey Graham, thank you very much. Tarantino became a Zionist because he married an Israeli model. That makes it even worse. Genocidal simp. Yeah, no, I'm not. That's not an excuse. I'm just saying he was never a political person. But yeah, that must explain it. All right. Why don't we move on? Russell, we got some MSNBC news.
All right, throw it up on the screen.
All right, here we are.
All right, so MSNBC, some are saying, some very smart people are saying it's not long for this world. MSNBC staffers in a panic as its parent Comcast plans to spin off channel and possibly change its name. Panic engulfed MSNBC headquarters Wednesday after parent company Comcast confirmed a massive spin-off of its cable properties, with a top executive even suggesting the left-leaning network may be forced to change its name. MSNBC stars Rachel Maddow, Chris Jansing, and Katie Tur joined a tense 10 a.m. meeting at 30 Rock in Midtown, led by NBC Universal Chairman Mark Lazarus, who will lead the new company, sources told the Post. Staffers fearing looming layoffs peppered him with questions about whether the network will need to change its name, logos, and headquarters after reports surfaced that the new entity could be cut off from the reporting muscle of NBC News, sources said. Lazarus told MSNBC staffers he wasn't sure whether the network would have to change its identity or its home, according to insiders. Quote, "Everyone is in a panic because everything is up in the air," one MSNBC source told the Post. Another insider close to the network added, "People don't really know what's going on. They had the election, holidays are coming up, people are tired and just trying to get through." MSNBC declined to comment. It has seen its ratings tank since Donald Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris. The rabid anti-Trump network has averaged roughly 550,000 viewers since Election Day, marking a 39% drop compared with its viewership in October, according to Nielsen data. In prime time, MSNBC's audience fell 53%, according to Nielsen. Okay, so now, just to be clear, This isn't just MSNBC. They're spinning off a lot of their cable channels, which include Sci-Fi, I think Oxygen they have. So they're spinning off a few because people are cord cutting. They're streaming. You're muted.
Sorry. My bad. CNBC too, right? That's part of the. That's
CNBC is getting spun off. CNBC is not really as worried about it because it functioned pretty independently and still does. Whereas MSNBC uses a lot of NBC's news gathering resources, uses a lot of its on-air personalities, uses its studios. CNBC actually is already at a separate studio. So they're not all that worried about it. Also, MSNBC ideologically is in a place where it's hard to see how they come back from this. Now, they are hoping there's normally a drop in viewership when your party loses. They're hoping people will come back. I don't think this is going to be quite normal. I don't think they're positioned in a good ideological lane. I also think, as we saw in this election, the podcasting world has come of age. It's become mature. A lot of people who are looking for the resistance are going to find it there. They're not going to go to MSNBC and CNN for that. So it's partly the overall business model of these cable channels is dying, combined with the fact that, they spent months talking up their viewers that Harris was going to win and she's the best thing since sliced bread. And of course it's not, and Fox kind of went through that a little bit when Romney lost.
Yes.
And ironically, the big soundbite that came out of that was Joe Scarborough saying conservative audiences have been lied to. That's a business model for the network. He seems to have forgotten that lesson in the case of MSNBC.
Also, yeah, just very, very quick point, though. In this case, I mean, yes, you're right. They were gaslighting viewers about Biden for a year and then Kamala for a few months. But this election result is a repudiation of the entire network, its entire
its entire worldview.
Because it's for the last 9 years, they have insisted that the way to resist Trump is to convince America that he's Hitler. And so this result is a repudiation of their entire reason to exist as a network. That's why I think it's going to be especially lasting.
Well, I don't think they're going to last.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to wind up seeing if they continue, because they have NBC News.
Right.
They don't really need MSNBC.
Right.
They could just let it die. They could try to sell it, although God knows who would buy it. Elon kind of joked around with a meme that, he's very tempted to try to buy MSNBC. Yes, it's not clear who their audience is going to be at this point going forward. My theory is it just becomes something completely different. They change the name and they try to rebuild it as a completely different brand.
Yep.
But as this liberal #resistance network, I think that's done. I think these are the death throes of it. But Rachel Maddow is still going to be there for a little while at least, although taking a big pay cut. It's not clear how she's going to get by on $25 million, as she's reputedly going to be getting per year. MSNBC star Rachel Maddow will remain at the Ratings Challenge Network for the foreseeable future after inking a new contract. Maddow famously cut the Rachel Maddow Show to once a week in 2022 to pursue other projects despite her enormous salary, which was believed to be roughly $30 million per year before the new deal. The Ankler, a media company that launched in 2022 and largely focuses on Hollywood, reported on Thursday that Maddow would take a $5 million per year pay cut and would now make $25 million per year for the next 5 years. I have to cut back on champagne lunches. The Rachel Maddow Show aired every weeknight during its heyday when it often competed for most watched cable news host. But Maddow began hosting only on Monday nights and passed the Tuesday through Friday baton to Alex Wagner 2 years ago. Maddow is also a mainstay on MSNBC's coverage of big events, such as election nights, and hosts podcasts and works on various side projects. Maddow largely built her program around passionate criticism of President-elect Donald Trump for years, and famously pushed since-debunked theories tying him to Russia. She still talks that shit. She very much is going with the Eddie Murphy cheating tactic.
Right.
Even if they have pictures, deny it.
Deny.
She just keeps going. The Rachel Maddow show thrived off the left's loathing of Trump, averaging 2.5 million viewers in 2017, 2.9 million in 2018, 2.8 million in 2019, and 3.2 million in 2020. However, Media Insider speculated during the first year of Biden's presidency in 2021 that Maddow was not long for the job, and she eventually rolled back her workload after a lengthy hiatus. So far in 2024, the Rachel Maddow show has averaged 2.4 million viewers on Monday nights, but many of them have tuned out since Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris on Election Day. MSNBC has seen its audience crater on the heels of Trump's victory, and many believe that even liberal viewers are sick of the network's nonstop anti-Trump programming. The Rachel Maddow show averaged 1.4 million viewers since the election, shedding 41% of its viewers. Things are even worse among the advertiser-coveted demographic of adults aged 25 to 54, where Maddow averaged 236,000 in 2024, but only 118,000 since the election, for a 50% drop. The libs are abandoning even their beloved Rachel Maddow. So yeah, there's a quote going around. One of them says, Rachel is ratings Viagra. We need her. But if you look at the kinds of decisions that these network executives have been making over the last few years, they do come brighter. I don't know if even Rachel Maddow's fan base is going to keep coming back for more of the kind of liberal #resistance that she's really the queen of. Like, what for? You're going to come back to hear her scream more about Russia? If you feel that you're not going to get power from imbibing this, which they've been given every reason to feel, and that's only going to be reinforced by the cultural shifts we're going to see over the next few years, are they going to come back to listen to more of that? Or is it going to kind of seem like listening to voices and personalities from a bygone era?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the indicators there is that the primetime drop in viewership is lower than the daytime drop. The daytime drop was 39%. The primetime drop was 53%, because primetime is where you get the op-ed anchors. That's where you get the perspective and the opinion of Joy Reid, Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell. The daytime is basically you have people reading the news. Now, if you're a lib, you may want to listen to libs read the news instead of CNN or Fox read the news. But the op-ed section, the real commentary portion, has dropped off even more than the straight news portion. Straight, as close as CNN, MSNBC can get you to straight news. So I think that is one sign of it. The other thing I have to say is, if she's a warrior for the cause, I understand she has an agent. She has people who make money off her who need to get paid. Can't you come down a little more? I mean, if the network is really in crisis and the country is about to fall to fascism, how about bringing that down to, I don't know, can you make it on $10 million a year? I mean, you've been making 30 for all these years. So, yeah, I mean, she's got to have a net worth of $250 million by now between this and the books and the speaking fees and all that shit. So you think, well, maybe knock it down a little bit more? I mean, it just seems like if you're really defending the country from Hitler, 25 million seems like you're still soaking them a lot, given the fact that they're in some trouble.
Yeah, Maddow doesn't believe any of that. Maddow
is
she's often been compared to Hannity. I think the better comparison is to Glenn Beck. She learned her craft from Roger Ailes. She doesn't have any particular convictions. When I saw her at the temple, we never aired this. I do have it though. I have video of this. She goes up there and she tells the people at the temple, in order to be kind of self-deprecating, that she's used to being in the studio where I don't have to see people. So did we hear that?
Oh yeah.
So
No, that's
seeing
in the
you
thing,
all is kind of freaking me out. Yeah. No, Rachel never talks to an audience. Of live
she never appears live,
people.
right?
No, this is freaking her out. She's a performer. She's an entertainer. She's an entertainer. That's why she has no shame about continuing to double down on Russia, because she has so little respect for her audience. She says, yeah, that's what they want. That's what they want. They don't want me to admit it. They want me to keep doubling down on it. She has no integrity. She has no decency. I mean, as far as I can see from what I observed when I saw her in person, and from what I've seen of her over the years, and from the way she's continuing to conduct herself, the whole crying about the children at the border where she broke into tears.
Yeah.
Bullshit. So why weren't you crying when they were doing it when Biden was the president? You're still doing it. Why didn't
What
that
about
make you
genocide?
cry?
What about images of children being dug out from under rubble? I mean, I'm not trying to minimize the trauma that a family goes through when they're dealing with an immigration thing. We're going to get to that later in the show, actually. But no crying on air for instance after instance after instance, over and over and over again, every hour of every day for a year.
Where are
of
the
babies
tears?
murdered? Where are the tears?
Right.
Yeah.
Where are the tears? Why aren't you crying about that?
Yeah.
No, she's really the Glenn Beck of the left, of the liberal class. She has no convictions. She's purely a circus clown.
Yep. Agreed. All right, let's take a quick ad break from Rumble Premium. This is a good one. So, folks, this sponsorship is directly from Rumble, and it's one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They did not censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on issues like COVID, but they did, and Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not fall to such pressure. They held the line, and they are attacked daily for giving shows like us a voice to talk to audiences like you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate media is fighting to suppress speech. Rumble is fighting to preserve it. Rumble will not survive with those brand
They're being
advertisers.
very unfair to Rumble. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
No one's ever seen anything like it. There's crackdown, very, very unfair. Rumble will not survive with those brand advertisers, of course, because they don't get much of them. So watching our show there is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium, which is the ad-free version of the Rumble platform. So join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. So go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy, of course, if you watch us on the platform. All righty. Beautiful. All right, folks. So that was an ad read for Rumble. Now we want to introduce you to a peek of our new merch store. Jake, can we get the...
Are we ready for 25-25?
Not quite. Nope, never quite hit it. Never quite hit it. Almost there. It's stubbornly elusive. 25-25.
Call your relatives. Tell them to sign on.
Tell them to sign in. Exactly. Yes. So, Jake, can you hit that screen for us? Can you share that link? The merch store. Just go. If you could just pull that up on the screen. No, I mean the actual link. Like, can you go to the page and screen share it? That would be great if you could do that, because we're very excited to share with you some of our new merch. We'll be adding to this throughout the holiday season, but this is the initial rollout here. Where's our Schmata Rap song here? Where is it? There it is.
I just...
I can't hear it. Go ahead, Very smooth rollout of the new store. So yeah, Jake, if you can scroll down, we can just see we got some official logos. We have some Iron Maiden logo tees, some Part 2 logo tees. Those coffee mugs, I love those coffee mugs. Those are my favorite, to be honest. Some baseball hats, some bucket hats. We will add new stuff throughout the holiday season. We have some designs that are just about ready to go. Hey, Jake, can you do me a favor? Can you go and click on the mug? I want to show this mug. I'm really proud of how this mug is.
And show them the Iron Maiden one, because you can't.
Yes, and the Iron Maiden one. Look at that. What a beautiful mug that is.
That is very nice.
No one's ever seen a mug like that. That is a very elegant, classy, mug. I mean, that is a beautiful mug. That is a beautiful
We're sending
piece of
a
art.
case to the White House.
They're going to buy that for $6.2 million. They're going to duct tape that mug to the wall, and it's going to be worth a lot of money someday. All right. So can we see the Iron Maiden parody design as well? Yep. So there we go. Some of the Iron Maiden sweats comes in different colors and different sizes, of course. Hoodies, sweatshirts, T-shirts. Looking good. Thanks to Nowhere Man for designing that. We also do have a scumbag douchebag tote bag, which we are going to add probably tomorrow. Russell had some last minute input on the design on that one. But yeah, that's the store. So if you go to dudissidents.com/merch, you can get your hands on this in time for Christmas. These guys ship reliably, unlike our last vendor, so that's why we changed it up. So everybody who's part of the patron tier that gets a shirt should have a shirt by now. They have all shipped out. They were very, very good about handling the orders. So if you order, I would say if you order within the next couple of weeks, you'll get it by Christmas. But order today. Hey, it's Black Friday. It's a big shopping week, big online shopping week. So be a consumerist for us. DoDissidents.com/merch and check it out. All right. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that very much. Furrow Screen Fire Dancer, the irony of Trudeau standing next to the relative of Nazis while he says this, and she stands smiling too. He's a pillock. Thank you, Furrow Screen. Crab Eater, I listen to the show religiously as a podcast, but rarely catch it live these days. You've been a part of my daily routine for over a year now. Love you guys. Love you too. Thank you. Right back at you. Right on.
All right. I know we're ready for the sound drop now because we're at 2-3.
What do you mean?
Oh, no. Whoops. Yeah,
it's got to be 26.
Yeah.
It's got to be 26. Right. Yeah. We always lose some when we do the
when we do the merch.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. They're like, fuck it, I'll come back when they do content again. Very impatient. See, not a captive audience on YouTube. When they get bored, they go watch something else and they come back.
Yep.
You come crawling back. They come crawling back. They can't do without us for too long. Sanction Canada and also sanction Mexico, potentially invade it. There goes your two biggest trading partners if Lindsey is president. So much for democracies. Make good neighbors. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, didn't the YouTube back end, it shows us our biggest competition are cam girls, actually.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Kenman, Seychelles is an island country and archipelagic state. Archipelago, so archipelagic state. There you go, in the Indian Ocean. Fancy. Seychelles has the highest nominal per capita GDP of any African nation. The more you know. Wow, that's interesting. Thank you, Kenman. Mad Wolf, my favorite dynamic duo. You guys are like the Siskel and Ebert of indie media. You guys are like two thumbs way down on the cackling short bus, the MAGA orange, and the genocidal snow cone. Love you guys. Thank you, Mad Wolf. Appreciate that.
We're like the judges in the Muppet Show of politics.
Exactly. Yes.
We're the Statler and Waldorf of politics.
Laugh says Orban is a typical racist, loves white supremacist Israel. Well, yeah, I mean, the evidence seems to be there. D. Wortham, a simplistic calculation, if you divide the 7 million vote decline for Harris by 50 states equals 140,000 more than the margins in the swing states. Yeah, there you go. I like that. That makes sense to me. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, let's go over to some YouTube super chats here. Humble beginnings. I'm still happy to listen to you guys. I'm happy Trump will be my president. He is not president yet. I'm not a Republican. I never deluded myself that the Republicans wouldn't support Israel. What would happen if Harris won? Well, that's I mean, that's kind of what we're saying here.
We're not making a case for Harris.
Yeah, we're not making a case for Harris, but at the same time, we're just saying why we couldn't make an affirmative case for Trump either. And on this fucking Ukraine bullshit now, where you have the National Security Advisor saying, yeah, I've been in talks with Jake Sullivan, and we're in lockstep. I mean, you're not even getting much change there.
You're not even getting that.
Yeah, that would be really horrible. I mean, imagine he keeps the Ukraine policy as usual, even if it's for like 6 months. Like, imagine if you don't immediately work to shut that down. I mean, Jesus. All political parties are run by COINTELPRO as DC. Thank you. Samira, Thanks for the $6.99. Bernie is a fake and phony version of Jeremy Corbyn. Thank you, Samira. Gareth Richmond deleted the message but kept the donation. Thank you for the $2. Appreciate that. Amadeus, we Canadians need to learn that America's government has always been our mortal enemies. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Amadeus. Landrew, another $100 from Landrew. Let's have another sound drop for Landrew. Landrew says, I'm in love with Candace Owens. There you go. Well, there you go. Landrew. Gave Landrew a new crush there. Absolutely. Let's have another cowbell here for R's in Revolt. Rez in Revolt for $100. Wow. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you over on Rumble. Good day from down under. You guys are my favorite Jews. Love your works. Love your works. Is that an Aussie expression? Works? Did your wife ever say that?
I'm going to have to ask her.
There you go.
She's in Hawaii right now.
Oh, yeah? That's fun.
Wedding.
Ah, that's fun. Let's see. Amadeus says woke liberals are also part of the woke right. Just saying. Yeah, not a bad formulation.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Indeed. All right, let's move on along here. Plenty of show left to do. Reminder, folks, Q&A tonight after the conclusion of the program, and we'll do our scroll jig after this next segment here. So here we go. All right. Trump's replacement pick for Matt Gaetz. The name's Bondi, Pam Bondi. That's going to be the name of this episode. Yes.
Do you want your civil rights burned or fried?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I had a theory from when Trump picked these people. I said, I think what they're doing is they're Miriam Adelson's list, Trump's version of the Citibank Obama list. She gave him a list, and that's who you're getting in, Huckabee and Defense Secretary, all of these. For the MAGA picks, they're getting people, and I don't know that Trump is doing this. I don't know that Trump is doing very much. I think he's probably delegating a lot of this to people around him so he could just keep doing his Rodney Dangerfield shtick for stadium crowds, which is what I think he's really in it for. But I said, they're picking people who they absolutely know will not be confirmed so that they can say they tried for their base, and then they're going to put in the real picks. Now, the best evidence for that so far is definitely Gaetz and Pam Bondi, because there is no way that anyone who knew anything thought they could get Gaetz confirmed. So why'd you pick him? What did you pick him for? And why was she ready to go a few hours later? And if you were really serious about reforming the Justice Department and reforming the government, with reform meaning anything more than taking revenge on the enemies of Donald Trump, if you meant like real reform that would affect like people like us, like actual voters, why would you pick her? Why wouldn't you pick a reformer who has a better chance of getting confirmed? Why would you pick a corporate lobbyist? So I believe that's planned. I think
obviously they had her ready to go 6 hours after Gaetz withdrew.
Within hours. I don't think they ever intend. I think they wanted to make a show of wanting to nominate Gaetz, and while everyone's yelling about the deep state, they slipped in their real pick, so nobody would really be talking about her. They talk about the deep state Republicans. President-elect Trump tapped former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as U.S. Attorney General after former Rep. Matt Gaetz withdrew from consideration Thursday. He was last seen at the local high school. No one knows why. Bondi is a longtime Trump ally whose confirmation chances appear stronger than Gaetz, you'd think. She would give the incoming administration a staunch ally atop the Department of Justice, which could be instrumental if Trump follows through on his threat to investigate his political enemies. To be clear, yes, I do believe the Justice Department applied double standards to Trump, certainly in regards to the Biden family's dealings in Ukraine. I do believe they enacted lawfare against him. I'm not saying those investigations of the Justice Department are illegitimate. What I'm saying is, other than emotional satisfaction, what is that going to do for you? It's going to do a lot for Donald Trump. What is that going to do for you? The kind of politics Gaetz had might have done something for you. This is not going to do anything for you.
Gates was not AIPAC funded. Gates was not on the Adelson list.
Right.
For all,
Right.
I mean, we have no reason to believe he would be since he's not AIPAC funded.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
For too long, the partisan Department of Justice has been weaponized against me and other Republicans, Trump said in his Thursday announcement. Not anymore. Pam will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. It's really, I mean, it's so childish. Like the whole Trump shtick is so childish. You know,
No,
just
President Cartman. It's Eric Cartman.
Yeah, just formulate making America something again.
Right.
To sell, you could sell anything, right? So here's what to know about Bondi. Bondi is a Tampa native and fourth-generation Floridian. She spent more than 18 years as a prosecutor. In 2011, she became the first woman to serve as Florida's Attorney General. She served on Trump's Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission and focused on shutting down pill mills as state AG. More recently, she worked with Ballard Partners, a Republican lobbying firm. She leads its corporate regulatory compliance practice. She was previously registered to lobby for large companies, including Amazon, General Motors, and Uber, as well as the Qatari government, per the New York Times. She's currently registered as a lobbyist for law enforcement related clients. Wow, that is shaking things up, man. That is shaking things up. Corporate lobbyist for Amazon and Uber. Wow, man. Wow, they got the establishment on the run now.
And the cops, lobbyists for the
police. The cop. Well, that goes without saying. Yeah. She also serves as the chair for the right-wing America First Policy Institute's litigation arm and co-chair of its Law and Justice Center. Bondi has routinely come to Trump's aid when he's faced legal jeopardy. Earlier this year, she showed up in support at his New York hush money trial. The proceeding eventually resulted in his conviction on 34 felony counts, though a judge has since paused his sentencing. Now, if you want to talk about a case that would never have been brought except as lawfare, that's a perfect case of weaponizing the Justice Department. In 2013, her office opted not to pursue a fraud investigation into Trump University after a $25,000 donation from his foundation to our political election committee, according to the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Drain in that swamp, baby. Bondi denied a connection between the donation and her decision after a lawsuit was filed in March 2016 while Trump was running for president. Trump in 2018 said he'd love for Bondi to join his administration after his first attorney general was ousted per ABC News. He ultimately selected Bill Barr. Bondi was part of Trump's impeachment team for his Senate trial in 2020. Bondi's stocks and warrants in Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation would be worth roughly $3.9 million if she continues to hold them, Barron's reported. Her brother, we'll get into this, Brad Bondi, was an attorney who worked on the deal that led to Trump Media's public listing, per Barron's. Bondi supported Trump's false claims of election fraud after the 2020 presidential election, per the New York Times. We've been doing this long enough. You don't even have to hear it literally. I can hear the screams. Those weren't false claims. Okay, so why is he the president-elect now?
I actually do hear him. I'm a little further north. I'm in a more rural area, so I can actually hear from the building.
Do you actually hear it?
Yeah, I can
hear
somebody actually now from the building.
You hear somebody screaming? You have a viewer in the building?
Yeah.
I, to my knowledge, do not.
Yeah. Well, that's because you're in Libville. You're in New York City.
Hey,
I'm out here with the real Americans.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah,
not so much anymore. Yeah. We did that segment the other day. I've got an article. Maybe we'll do it during the week that really breaks down, AOC districts that went for Trump.
Right.
She said there could be fake ballots in a Fox News interview at the time, and appeared alongside former Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani to decry voter fraud, the Tampa Bay Times reported. In 2014 court filings, she said that recognizing same-sex marriage would impose significant public harm to Floridians, per CNN. All right, so on this show we're not from the woke side of the street, right? But that's an insane position. As late as 2014,
Yes.
I mean, I don't consider supporting same-sex marriage woke. I consider thinking children should be at strip shows as long as you call them drag shows. I think that's woke. I think insisting that children can make medical decisions that will affect the rest of their lives, like puberty blockers, I think that's woke. The idea that you're going to deny full-grown adults the right to get married because of their sexuality, yeah, that's not woke. That's just fascist. As the state's attorney general, she challenged Obama administration policies, including the Affordable Care Act, per the Hill. We're going to get a big, beautiful health plan, folks. Big, beautiful replacement for Obamacare. So David Sirota did this article. Trump's new AG nominee, Pam Bondi, is the sister of the lawyer who represented Elon Musk and Tesla. All right, so let's take a look at what this is about. President-elect Donald Trump's new choice to head the Justice Department is reportedly the sister of the lawyer who represented Elon Musk and Tesla against federal charges that Musk committed securities fraud. If confirmed, Trump's Attorney General nominee Pamela Bondi would be in a position to shut down federal prosecutors' ongoing investigation of Musk's company. Trump is also reportedly considering nominating Bondi's brother to head the federal agency that brought fraud charges against Musk. Bondi, this is about the brother here, Bondi negotiated a settlement with the SEC and continued to represent Musk and Tesla when the SEC alleged that he violated the terms of the agreement a year later. Musk appealed the case up to the Supreme Court, but the High Court declined to hear the case in April. Okay, so this is the most right-wing court we've had in generations, and they didn't think he had a case. All right, so anyone who's going to say, well, but that was just lawfare against Musk, well, apparently not, because if it was, I would think this court would have taken the case up. If confirmed, Pam Bondi would oversee a Justice Department that is reportedly investigating whether Musk's electric vehicle company misled customers and investors about its car's self-driving capabilities. Tesla is testing a robotaxi service in California, a process that was reportedly secret until Musk announced the operations in a recent Tesla earnings call in October. Trump's decision to nominate Bondi will, quote, further cement the plutocracy running Washington, said Kenny Stansel, a senior researcher at the Revolving Door Project, a government watchdog group. Quote, Donald Trump's decision to nominate Pam Bondi for Attorney General is a win for Elon Musk and corporate criminals everywhere, Stansel told The Lever in a statement. A Bondi-led Justice Department would almost certainly shield Musk and Tesla from federal scrutiny. Wow, man. That is making America great again right there. So, but that's not all, folks. So Trump's incoming AG, Pam Bondi, says American students who protest Israel should be taken out of the country or subject to FBI interviews. Let's see that video.
Democrats like Alan Dershowitz have sounded the alarm over the growing virulent strain of Jew haters in the Democrat Party. It appears their agents in the unfair press are carrying that water. It is dangerous, is it not?
Yeah, it's very dangerous, Chris. It's extremely dangerous. And, you know, you look around, the thing that's really the most troubling to me, these students in universities in our country, whether they're here as Americans or if they're here on student visas, and they're out there saying, I support Hamas. You and I have seen that on all of these television shows. Frankly, they need to be taken out of our country, or the FBI needs to be interviewing them right away when they're saying, I support Hamas, I am Hamas. That's not saying I support all these poor Palestinians who are trapped in Gaza. That's not what they're saying.
Okay, well, yes, that is what they're saying.
Oh, it's not?
That's exactly what they're saying. And as for the other stuff that they're saying, what we do know also exists, we've seen casting calls put out for provocateurs to go in and say inflammatory shit like what you were just saying in order to discredit the movement. We actually seen postings on social media, right? The Gray Zone guys did a great thing where the guy was clearly opposed. He had his entire face covered, not just a mask covered, but like entire face covered.
October 7th, 1,000 times.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably what you are referring to there. We don't have to rehash this instance after instance where people have made those kinds of inflammatory statements at the crowd. They've almost certainly been provocateurs. They've been infiltrators. That one person with that sign there, I won't repeat it to not trip any censors here in East Berlin, but we saw they were there alone. They were asked not to hold the sign up. Those are red flags. You go to a protest with nobody holding an inflammatory thing. So that's what she's talking about there. As for this other stuff, yeah, they are talking about the poor Palestinians trapped in Gaza. Of course, that's what they're talking about.
If you go to these events, everyone is hyper conscious of not making negative headlines that reinforce these kinds of narratives.
Right. These
so
smears,
who's going to decide, no, this is not supporting the Palestinians, which, as you point out, 99.999999999% of people who have ever gone to any of these rallies are saying exactly that. These poor Palestinians, and this is terrible, and this is a genocide. Nothing about, people don't even want to say Hamas at these rallies. They don't even say the word as a rule. But I'm betting a Justice Department run by this psycho is going to decide, no, you weren't saying that. Who decides? Who decides?
Well, she decides. That's the scary thing. Yeah,
exactly.
So I think their student visas need to be revoked. I think we need to reinstate President Trump's travel ban immediately. There's a lot of things that can be done to stop this. But yeah, the anti-Semitism that is rampant throughout this country now, and it's truly, truly heartbreaking to see what's happening to all of our Jewish friends in this country by really just, I think, a lot of ignorant kids and students and people who don't understand that Hamas equals terrorism, even worse, at its worst.
All right, so where's my MAGA people? Where's my freedom of speech people? Where's my people who told me they were so worried about what Harris and Biden would do, what Harris would do if she became president, how they were going to crush speech? Where's Elon? Where's Elon, the free speech absolutist? Where is he speaking out about this? So let's see, just before we discuss, a couple people who commented on this. Whitney Webb, protesting a foreign war, apparently not protected by the First Amendment per Perspective AG pick. And Glenn Greenwald, if Pan Bondi is at Mar-a-Lago, can someone there teach her about this thing we call the First Amendment? Several Trump appointees whining about racism, the only kind that counts, as a reason we need censorship and FBI visits for speech. She should also stop speaking for Jews. Amen. Amen. Don't feel bad for me. I mean, I feel bad about the Zionists because they are legitimizing anti-Semitism, as we have always said they would. We've been saying that since October 8th, that these people were going to fan the flames of anti-Semitism, and they are. So now all the people who said we have to support Donald Trump, many of them, some of them friends of ours in this space, I want to hear what you have to say about this. I want to see the articles. I want to see the segments on this. I want to see what you have to say when the person that Trump just picked said they want to throw people with student visas out of the country if they protest for Palestine. And they think it's appropriate to have the FBI come and question protesters that they deem pro-Hamas, which clearly, and don't tell me, I understand she gave you that plausible deniability. That's not what she said. That's not what she said. She said if they're pro-Hamas. She said, we know what she said. We know what she said, and we know what she meant, and we know how they're going to interpret protests. What'd she say? These people are not protesting for the poor Palestinians. Well, that's telling you right there how she's going to enforce the law, because she's already very dishonestly interpreting the protests that are already happening. What do you think, as Attorney General? She's going to say, oh, no, but I think they're just pro-Palestine.
Right.
No.
Obviously, yes. And hey, by the way, just not to nitpick here, I thought Trump was going to do away with the FBI. I thought he was going to dismantle the FBI. I thought that was part of the deep state. I thought that had to go, right? Didn't Matt Gaetz say he wanted to dismantle the FBI? I mean, I don't think Gaetz would be going here, which is why he's not going to get the job. And it's why I suspect that Trump knew all along he wasn't going to get the job. They had this pick ready to roll out within hours of Gaetz stepping down. Furthermore, Donald Trump apparently, according to reporting, called Matt Gaetz and told him that he did not have the votes in the Senate to get confirmed. There were already 4 Republicans who confirmed that they were a no vote. Now, that's significant on a couple of levels because when, A, it shows that Trump was really not willing to go to the mats for Matt Gaetz because he could have tried to whip those votes. McConnell, Murkowski, Susan Collins, and I believe Curtis was the last one. I forget what their first name is. But point is, you had 4 votes. That's what you need. Republicans have 53 seats, so 4 votes tanks it. And so Trump would rather have just called Matt Gaetz and said, hey, sorry, there's 4 no votes. It's not going to happen for you. Gaetz goes away. That tells you he wasn't willing to go to the mats for him. It also suggests perhaps that your other maverick picks like Tulsi and RFK are going to have a problem getting through because now we know that there are 4 votes in the Senate who are not willing to fall in line behind Donald Trump no matter what. That was a very open question. Trump won the election very convincingly. He obviously swings a big stick in the Republican Party. It's not a politically convenient thing to do to cross him. And so it was an open question. Hey, are there 4 Republican senators who are willing to say no to anything? Apparently, yes, they are willing to say no to something, and that's Matt Gaetz.
You saw that when they didn't pick Scott to lead the Senate.
Yes. You have John Thune as the majority leader when MAGA wanted Rick Scott. So now the question is, does Tulsi get through? Does RFK get through? Does Trump try to get them through in recess appointments? If yes for Tulsi and RFK, why not for Gaetz, right? So this puts those other picks, those other maverick picks, in serious question. Which is another realm of thinking about this besides the merits of this Pam Bondi character. But yes, the fact that they had a lifelong corporate lobbyist ready to go within hours of Gaetz' resignation tells me that they put Gaetz up there as red meat for the base. Hey, look, we tried to get Gaetz through, but we got blocked. Just like the Democrats put the minimum wage. We tried to put the minimum wage in the Build Back Better, but the parliamentarian, they blocked it out. Too bad. I guess we'll have to do it this way.
Well, and this was the plan. What was all the coverage? Oh, look what they did to Matt Gaetz. Look at how they had the compromise. That's how they get you. Meanwhile, you're not looking at what's actually in front of you and the person they actually picked. And to give that much leeway to this administration to assume, that was all an accident. That was all an accident. They didn't understand when schmucks like us, who are not insiders, who don't have people on speed dial who are making decisions in Washington, knew that Gaetz could not be confirmed. They didn't know. They didn't know. But you want to scream about compromise, which, hey, that's true as far as it goes. But they knew that. They knew that. So why they knew they had compromise on Gaetz. Everybody knew it. The whole country knew it. They knew that they particularly hate this guy in the Senate. Everybody knew this. So why'd they pick him? So they could put her in.
Yeah. Seems that way to me. I mean, I certainly buy that. That's what we suspected. And that's the way it looks.
Yeah, RFK.
That is the way it looks.
RFK, listen. RFK gets confirmed, I will be very, very surprised. The only way would be a recess appointment. There is no fucking way you are getting him through the Senate. Absolutely no way. But that's good for them. You're going to wind up essentially getting nothing for the American people. You're going to get a lot for people like Elon. You're going to get a lot for the billionaires. It's going to be like Milei. That's what they promised you. Milei. Well, Milei goes up and fucking screams about the transes, and now you think he's your buddy? You think cutting taxes on billionaires is for you? You think they do that for you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It is really shaping up to be quite something. Ironically, the best pick that Trump has made so far, which is coming up in our next segment, is the pick that has the GOP in meltdown mode.
Of course, of course.
Like even the party is revolting over that one, which we will get to next.
Well, that's an interesting question. Will they confirm her?
Well, the interesting question for her is, did the Democrats vote for her? Right.
Well, I would assume they will, but maybe not a majority.
Yeah. Did they
like
get
a lot of
them
Democrats?
Will. Yeah. That's gonna be that is gonna be an interesting one. But Jake, why don't we throw up our patron scroll here? We got a lot going on for the patrons this week as Thanksgiving approaches. So if you would like to support this program, you can do so by going to patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.substack.com, or what we're really pushing now is our locals. So if you are watching this show on Rumble, which now 2,000 of you are, oh no, not quite, 1948. We're almost at a 1999 on Rumble. Sorry, premature. We almost were able to hit that sound drop. You can go to DoDissidents.locals.com. If you're watching on Rumble, hit that bright red join button underneath the video player and join our locals for as little as $5 a month. You get live stream access to our pre-recorded interviews. You get full-length live streams, call-in live streams, movie club. We have a live stream this Wednesday at noon, our pre-Thanksgiving call-in stream for paid members, and then we have our movie club night on Saturday night, the last night of this month. So we got plenty in store for you this week. You get plenty of perks. You get those. You get your name up in lights here. You also get call-in access to our post-show Q&As every Sunday night after the show, exclusively on Rumble. Tonight's Sunday. So if you want to call in and talk to us, just plunk down $5. Get that link and call us in about an hour, which is when we will be heading over there. So that's DoDissidents.locals.com. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Rumble, just hit that bright red join button underneath the screen, please. And thank you so much for your support. All right, let's go to Noah Goop. MAGA all got erections when they saw Tulsi and Gates, ignoring that likely neither would get appointed. And they just hear ringing when you mention literally any other cabinet pick. Yep. I'm curious what happens to this labor secretary, which we're going to get to next. Longmeadow, Trudeau is a terrible PM for Canada. Uninformed Canadians will vote for Pierre Poilievre in 2025, who's a huge warmonger. He agreed with Trudeau to send billions to Ukraine. PP is also a Zionist. Well, I'm sure, look, I mean, this is why that warrant was important. This is why we say these court cases were important. Don't forget, the Netherlands was one of the first countries to jump out and say, we will enforce the warrant. That's significant because if you remember, Nicaragua sued the Netherlands for enabling genocide. So once this warrant came down, they wanted to stick their hands up and say, hey, we will honor this. Like, you have to force these leaders into doing the right thing. They're not just going to do it out of the kindness of their heart. That's not the way power works. You have to force it. And these steps are ways of forcing it. And so that is the significance of that, I think. Doc Durkin says these elites are getting dragged in the mud by supporting Bibi as the world looks on. Yes, this era of the great reveal keeps revealing and further unraveling of imperial power. That's entertainment. Yes.
Look, the more we see this taking shape, you're talking about the whole American house was already just termite ridden with the foundations eaten away and just ready to crumble. I believe this is going to just collapse the whole system. Like, I believe this administration is going to preside over the collapse that Chris Hedges and many others have been predicting, the collapse of American economic power.
I agree. I do. Kuznetsky Bassane, thanks for the $4.99. Love and respect to Candace Owens. There you go. Yep. Amadeus, thanks for the $2. K, Landrew is not dead. He just went home. There you go. Mr. Fancy Pants says, I can fix her, vis-a-vis Candace Owens. Thank you, Mr. Fancy Pants. Gareth Richmond, thanks for the $20 Canadian. As the better Trudeau PM said, living next to you, the USA, is in some ways like sleeping with an elephant. No matter how friendly and even-tempered is the beast, if I can call it that, one is affected by every twitch and grunt. Well said. Thank you, Gareth. Russ, when does Trump actually own the genocide? I think he owns it whenever. Day one.
I think he owns it from day one, given his policies.
Right.
It's not like he has a policy of shutting it down. He has a policy of ramping it up so that they can put it behind them and hasten the day when they can put up a nice statue of a Palestinian and talk about how bad they feel about how they wiped these people out to get this land.
Exactly, yeah. No, he owns it on day one. I think that's absolutely true. Miguel Cedeno Lozana, I like that name. Thanks for the $10. Lindsey said the quiet part out loud. If Israel falls, so will our dollar. Sanctions are just a bluff that eliminates our currency's adopters, which in turn diminishes its hegemony. Brad Gilbert, Candace and Jimmy are more MAGA than Trump. Well, Jimmy did out of
That's true.
Right,
That's
exactly,
true.
yeah.
Way more. Way
Yeah.
more. That's the
Way
problem.
more yeah, exactly. Well, no, Trump is Israel first. That's what they say, right? Time for post-duopoly coalition. Vote numbers look low. Post-duopoly yeah. Well, by the way, post-duopoly show tomorrow, Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brandon. Wasn't me. Candace is right. Furthermore, Trump has a short time to shut down 2 wars or he will lose at least half of his constituency. He better do his job. There you go. I like that attitude. Wasn't me. Appreciate that. Rose Isaac, thanks for the $10. Is there potential for a single issue neutrality party in the future? I see so many who are all over the place on social and economic policies, but agree on opposing the foreign policy establishment. Unfortunately, I think it's difficult to impossible to build a political party simply around foreign policy consensus. I think you have to speak more directly to people's immediate needs. So no, I don't think that is possible. But I do think you need to fuse. I mean, this is why serious leftists always said you have to have a global critique. You have to have a global message because you have to be able to fuse those struggles into one, which they are.
Right.
And so that would be my answer to that. Samira, thanks for the $6.99. MSNBC, manipulating stories, narratives, and brainwashing citizens. Thank you, Samira. Appreciate that very much.
That's good.
Brad Gilbert says MAGA will have to boycott Trump, Inc. and the Sands. Thank you very much. All right. Sparky's in the house. He's got some super chats lined up. We'll get to those in a few minutes, but we will move right along for now. All right, so we just went over Pam Bondi's career highlights, so to speak, who was recently named Trump's new attorney general pick. Here are 2 more Trump picks, Treasury Secretary and Labor Secretary, 2 picks that are sort of inherently at odds with each other no matter who fills them, so to speak. But in this case, you have 2 visions here. Who has Trump picked for his cabinet? Scott Bessent, Lori Chavez DeRemer join nominees. So let's look at Scott Bessent. Donald Trump is closing out the week with another batch of cabinet nominations on Friday. The president-elect has picked former Soros Fund Management Chief Investment Officer Scott Bessent to be the next Treasury Secretary. Through the cabinet position, Bessent would help maintain the U.S. dollar status as the reserve currency of the world, Trump said in a statement. The 62-year-old Yale alum who founded Key Square Capital Management in 2015 has supported Trump's economic policy of deregulation, increasing domestic energy production, and tax cuts. Pending Senate approval, Bessent will advise Trump on matters relating to financial, economic, and tax policy. So Michael Tracy, who's been really on these nominees, he's been great. He's been finding all of the receipts. Scott Bessent, a billionaire hedge fund manager who raised tens of millions for Trump and was previously the chief investment officer of the Soros Fund Management, has been named Treasury Secretary. The great populist anti-establishment revolution continues apace. Scott Bessent worked for Soros Fund Management from 1991 to 2000, then again as chief investment officer from 2011 to 2015. I know we're all supposed to have fruit fly memories, but I definitely recall Soros being a huge right-wing bugbear back in the ancient days of the 2010s. Yes, indeed. And, of course, he pulls this headline from the Financial Times, another devastating blow to the establishment, a sigh of relief as Wall Street welcomes Donald Trump's pick of Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary. So the good old boys, the Chamber of Commerce types, very happy with this pick for Treasury, but not so much with this next pick. Representative Lori Chavez DeRemer from Oregon is Trump's pick to lead the Labor Department. The one-term Oregon representative previously served as mayor of Happy Valley, a suburban city in the Portland area. That's where Matt Gaetz is going to move to. He's going to relocate to Happy Valley. She lost her re-election bid for the state's 5th congressional district to Democratic challenger, State Representative Janelle Bynum. So, yes, she is currently serving, but she lost her election this year, one of the very, very few Democrat pickups, because she won as a Republican. A pretty blue area. I mean, the Portland, Oregon suburbs, that's not great terrain for a conservative campaign. And she's one of the left most conservative. What's that?
A lot of Ukraine flags.
Yeah, a lot of Ukraine flags there. Yes, exactly. And as we'll see here, she is one of the left most Republicans in the caucus, which makes this pick very interesting. During her campaign, Chavez DeRemer received endorsements from the largest federal employees union and several public safety unions, including United Food and Commercial Workers. As a Republican, got those union endorsements. So Sean O'Brien from the Teamsters says, "Thank you, Donald Trump, for putting American workers first by nominating Lori Chavez DeRemer for U.S. Labor Secretary. Nearly a year ago, you joined us for a Teamsters roundtable and pledged to listen to workers and find common ground to protect and respect labor in America. You put words into action. Now let's grow wages and improve working conditions nationwide. Congratulations to Lori Chavez DeRemer on your nomination. North America's strongest union is ready to work with you every step of the way to expand good union jobs and rebuild our nation's middle class. Let's get to work." Rebecca Rainey says Representative Lori Chavez DeRemer is one of the few Republicans to sign on to the PRO Act, which would codify the ABC test at the federal level, ban captive audience meetings and class action waivers, override state right-to-work laws, among other major changes to federal labor law. Trump nominating Lori Chavez DeRemer here, says El Super Mexican, for Labor Secretary of Labor is absolutely insane. So this is a conservative account not happy about this. Teachers love her. Afuera! Free market advocates hate her. Afuera! Elon Musk opposes her. Afuera! Independent workers hate her. Afuera! She will force people to join unions. Afuera! Trump sold us out to repay union chiefs. So now the chuds are pissed off about, like, they're revolting over this one. Right. Can't please everybody, I suppose. Dominic Pino, it's not pro-worker to be pro-union. That's a hell of a formulation.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting.
Exactly.
I remember when I used to drive a horse and carriage, I had a guy in the back of the carriage when I said that the carriages were unionizing. He was very upset by this. Oh, why do you want to do that? That's terrible. Wow, that is a peasant mind. That's a peasant. Wow. You're really upset about horse and carriage drivers unionizing. And the only reason they unionized was to fight PETA.
Right. Lori Chavez DeRemer failed to understand that and lost re-election. Don't reward her with a cabinet post on Sean O'Brien's recommendation. New from me, so he's a writer for the National Review. Now, we're not going to bore you guys by reading from the National Review, but we do have a fun article in a much more fun outlook coming up in just a moment. Fred Wazolik says if either Barack Obama or Joe Biden had nominated Lori Chavez DeRemer Secretary of Labor, Republicans would have unanimously opposed the nomination. Republicans should unanimously oppose her nomination now. Conservatives fought card check too hard to give up now. So the New York Post was very unhappy with this pick. Trump's labor pick is toxic, anti-conservative rhino who is too close to unions, critics allege. Not serious. Now, in terms of rhino, I just want to pause here before we read this article. I think what a lot of MAGA people who gravitate to shows like ours and Jimmy's and Greenwald, they're kind of realizing here, hopefully they're realizing here, is that you guys, you MAGA people who are open-minded and curious enough to watch shows like ours, and we love you and we love you for being here, you guys are actually the rhinos, not them. The Chamber of Commerce people, those are the Republicans. It's actually MAGA who are the rhinos. Right. I mean, you guys are the ones who are willing to, like, buck that kind of orthodoxy much more than they do. Right. So it's actually that cohort of the MAGA base that's rhino. So don't necessarily take that as a slur. But Trump's labor pick is toxic, anti-conservative rhino. Here's the headline here from the New York Post, and we'll read some of this. This is pretty funny. President-elect Trump's nomination for labor secretary is a toxic, anti-conservative rhino with cozy ties to unions, outraged critics told the Post on Saturday. So they had the exclusive on some of this. During her single term on the Hill, Lori Chavez DeRemer has backed a laundry list of boilerplate liberal policies at odds with long-standing Republican orthodoxies, including strengthening unions' efforts to organize the private sector, amnesty for illegal immigrants, and championing expanding government employee unions. The signaling effect alone from this nomination would be that the Trump administration is not serious about deregulation or economic growth. Ken Girardin, labor expert at the... Yeah, I love the name of this organization. Labor expert at the Conservative Empire Center for Public Policy told the Post. One of the biggest red flags for critics is the fact that Chavez DeRemer was one of only 3 House Republicans who co-sponsored the radical union-backed PRO Act. So obviously New York Post very friendly in their editorial bent to the people who have complaints about this nomination. The bill, which failed to pass out of the House in 2023, would have banned right-to-work laws in over 24 states, which allow employees to opt out of paying union dues, devastated the gig economy by restricting independent contractor classifications, and forced employers to hand over their workers' personal information. In this woman's America, every worker would have to have a boss and pay the union for the privilege of working, said Grover Norquist, founder and president of Americans for Tax Reform. That guy is still around, still kicking.
Yep. Wow.
This
Only
is an
the
outrage.
good die young.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. This is an outrage. This is not mildly bad. This is a huge thing that she voted for. Teamsters president Sean O'Brien, who met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago in January and spoke at the RNC despite not endorsing him in his 2024 White House run, pushed for Chavez DeRemer to clinch a cabinet post, a Trump World insider said. Sean O'Brien of the Teamsters did that, the insider said. Trump and O'Brien are closer than people understand. Union support was a crucial factor for Trump's election win in November. Despite the Teamsters' refusal to endorse a candidate in 2024, internal polling conducted by the union found nearly 60% of its rank and file nationwide backed Trump. So that sentence is kind of oddly written, because what you could really glean from that is that because 60% of the rank and file backed Trump, the union decided not to endorse.
Right,
it was probably still a bridge too far for the Teamsters to endorse Trump, but they didn't endorse Kamala because there was overwhelming rank and file support for Trump. Rank and file labor was an important part of his coalition, but I don't think Chavez DeRemer is any good at all. People are very worried about her. What people? You? Yeah.
A person close to Trump.
Yes, people in the north of $5 million a year
You
income
got Don
bracket.
Jr.
Yeah,
People really worried.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Business won't like her. Chamber of Commerce won't like her. This was not a great appointment. Well, you know what? A business and Chamber of Commerce, you know what they don't represent very well? Labor. She's the labor secretary. The whole position is supposed to be a counterweight to the Chamber of Commerce. That's the whole point of having a labor secretary. So the one good pick that he makes, they melt down over. And now you have the opposite kind of question. Does she get through? Does she get through? Do all the Republicans vote against her? Do the Democrats vote for her? And is that enough? That's really interesting. But you know who played his cards just right this season? Sean O'Brien. Sean O'Brien at the Teamsters really maneuvered very, very well. He said, we're open to endorsing either candidate. We're not going with the Democrat as we typically do. So he gets invited to the RNC. He makes a speech. The Democrats disinvite him because he spoke at the RNC. Another brilliant move by the Kamala Harris campaign.
They are
really.
It's really it's really the mean girl party.
Right,
oh my
exactly,
God, he spoke at the Republicans. Well, you tell him we don't want him speaking here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to build coalitions.
Brilliant decision that was. Really paid off big time. Trump wins. He grabs his ear. He gets this appointment through. Now, is this appointment enough to counterbalance all of the just fanatically pro-Wall Street picks that he's put in there, that he's flooded his cabinet with? No, but O'Brien did navigate this pretty well. It was pretty shrewd operating on his part. Now, the question is, Does she get confirmed? Does the whole party rebel against her?
It seems to me, we will see what happens, but do you think Trump is really going to stick his neck out for this nomination?
Right.
Trump is not pro-union, and certainly his new Steve Bannon, Elon, is not pro-union. They laughed about it in their Spaces interview about how great it is the way Elon goes in and fires people who try to unionize at Tesla. So Trump's not pro-union. He's making a gesture to Sean O'Brien and to the Teamsters by nominating her. But again, look what happened with Gates. Look what I think's gonna happen with his other MAGA nominees. Like, I think most of these nominations are for show and are unlikely to clear the Senate, because this is still, in spite of the fact that their base has become very working class, this is still the party of Reagan. If you look at everything they're talking about with Doge, it's very funny seeing them recast just basic trickle down Reaganomics as punk rock, as edgy, as manly, right? to go, it's just bargain basement trickle down economics. So I think any pick that you might be excited about is very unlikely to be confirmed, and the people that you are going to end up with are going to be business as usual, and business as usual under the circumstances of what the underpinnings of our economy really are at this point, which is smoke, mirrors, money printing, but not in the way they talk about. They love to talk about money printing in the CARES Act and during COVID for the common people. What they don't tell you about is all the money printing they did after 2008 to prop up Wall Street.
Right.
That is why we have an enormous asset bubble. They want to talk about inflated prices of chicken and eggs. What about inflated prices of houses? What about the inflated prices of the stock market? Where'd all that money come from? Why'd it get so inflated? Because the Fed printed all of this money, dumped it on Wall Street, and what did these guys do? They inflated all of the asset prices. They started buying up private homes and turning into landlords. That's the side of, that money printing definitely caused inflation. You notice they never talk about that. They never talk about that. They talk about the money printing that went to normal people. They never talk about the money printing that went to them.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I mean, Elon put that meme out there about government overspending is the cause of inflation.
On you guys.
Yeah, on you guys.
on you guys. Never mentions that. He doesn't mention how much money he gets in government contracts.
Of course, right. Exactly.
Right? So what are these guys going to do? I mean, they've said it straight out. Malay. They're going to go Malay. How do you think that's going to go for people? They're just going to try to continue. They're not going to check their privileges. They're not going to check the money printing on their part. So I think you're going to wind up with these kinds of picks just getting shot down. And they're going to do this insane Argentinian kind of an experiment on the American economy. And the American economy is too distorted, not by what they say, but by things that benefited them, to bear the brunt of the kind of insane experiments that they're planning on carrying out.
Yes. Well said. Sparky, thanks for the $5. Obviously, AIPAC must have found Gates to be morally questionable, so that's why he didn't have AIPAC funds. Yeah, maybe he was not bribable because of all that baggage.
That must be it.
Maybe. Sparky, thanks for the $10. For the most part, it seems by Trump's pick so far, either he has a philosophy of the big ask meets good cop, bad cop, or he hasn't learned anything from his first term or since. We'll see. I don't think he ever really gave a shit. Like, you know, you ever play, if any of you guys played Little League Baseball, if you were into playing baseball, right, if you enjoyed the game, there would be a lot of kids who liked playing, they liked the idea of being on the baseball team. They weren't any good at the game, but they enjoyed hanging out in the dugout. They enjoyed chewing bubble gum, right? They enjoyed the concession stands after the game. That's like Trump. That's how Trump's approach to this is. Like, he likes going out and doing the rallies.
Right.
He likes
yeah.
the showmanship part of it. I don't think
Right.
he really has a curiosity about the process at all, or an
No.
interest in it.
Well,
It
that's
just
why
doesn't seem to.
Well, that's why I think this whole tactic of picking people that the base will get excited about who will get shot down, and then they can blame the deep state and put in the people they really want. I don't think that's Trump's plan. I think the people around him who manage the transition, I think that's what they're doing. I don't think he gives a shit. Right? They come to him with a bill to kill the ACA. Yeah, sure, I'll sign it, whatever. Give it to me.
Yeah, no, that's probably what they're doing. They're probably giving him, hey, Gates for AG. Oh, that sounds great. I like Matt Gates. Oh, great. Sounds good. Sir, he doesn't have the votes in the Senate. Oh, all right, we'll give him a call, get him to drop out. But we have this Pam Bondi here. Oh, yeah, her. Yeah, she's great.
Oh, yeah, I like
how
her.
it goes.
She was very helpful when they stole the election from me. Yeah, I like her.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. Let's see here. Sparky says, how about that new Hazel missile Russia has? Russia can go nuclear without going nuclear. Precision, devastation, no radiation, no long-term mess. That sounds pretty scary. I have to look into that, Sparky. I have not looked into that yet. Sparky, is Trump picking extremists to remain above ground until inauguration, then pull the rug out from under Israel? No. Come on, man. Come on. Don't waste your money.
Come on.
Don't waste your money with questions like that. Listen, we love you, Sparky, but don't waste your money with questions like that.
You don't
By the way,
believe
Gates had said he was going to expose the Epstein unnamed country connection. No, I think Gates. Look, what Ritter was saying about Gates was true. I think Gates was the best pick he made so far. For that reason. You know, certainly the most impactful. I mean, AG, that's a huge position. And because Gates was, not on the Israel payroll, I think Gates is, not that his politics are my politics, but he does seem to be a genuine populist. I think he is pro-free speech. I don't think he would crack down on student protests the way that this fucking nut job will. So, yeah, no, he was the best one, I thought. But come on, look, you can't buy pussy on Venmo and get appointed Attorney General of the United States. I mean, I'm sorry. You got to be a little bit more discreet than that.
I mean, if they had been trans sex workers,
yeah, right, maybe
he might have been able to get away with that.
Yeah, exactly. You should look some. He can make some phone calls, see if he can get some. of them.
I was supporting the community.
Yeah, right. It was the community. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Susanna, thanks for the $10. Trump promised Miriam Adelson the entire West Bank for $100 million. How can we get rid of AIPAC? How can we ever get dual citizen Zionists out of the U.S. government? We are 1,000% controlled. I feel hopeless. Yeah, I don't blame you, Susanna. Look.
This is where I hold out some hope for the MAGA people because they don't like this shit. That is my experience. More of them feel that way. That are like, yeah, we have to defend Israel. This is purely a leadership class thing. They're getting that AIPAC money. People aren't.
Yeah, look, and in terms of the answer, there's no shortcut to this. There's no easy way to get to this. It's you have to organize workers. Like, you need to try some communism. You need to try some socialism. You need to try worker power. You need to try building worker power from the ground up, general strikes, mass actions. That's the one thing we have not tried in this country yet. And you seem to be running out of options, do you not? Because nothing you throw at the wall seems to stick very much. You know why? Because they're all bought by very, very, very wealthy people who exist at a strata of society that you cannot even conceptualize. And so the only way to counter that is to organize people down here where we all are. Not to try and pick which one of these people are going to be the one to go in and deliver what you need. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
And let me just say, because predictably, there's a little conversation in the chat. Yeah, we're not saying that, they brought down Gates because they care about that. Half of these people were on Epstein Island. Right. They're very selective in who's sex crime. Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Right. Tara Reid, they pulled the nuts and sluts defense on her. Right. Yeah. Right at the height of Me Too. They're very selective. Bill Clinton still running around, very plausibly accused of rape and confirmed molester and sexual assault of many women. Still putting them on stage at the DNC, still putting them on stage to speak for the party. They're very selective in who they decide to pursue these things with. That doesn't mean he didn't do that shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, they seem to have the
They seem to have the receipts.
Yeah, they seem to have
literally.
You can't.
They
make
literally
it easy.
have the receipts.
Yeah, right, exactly. When Bernie went on 60 Minutes, I said, of course the media is gonna fuck you, and that's not an excuse past a certain point. If you know their game, you can't give them the evidence.
Right.
You can't give them what they need to fuck you.
If
you
you're
know the
gonna
media is
fight
gonna
the
try,
deep states, you cannot be banging teenagers. You
yeah,
just
you
can't.
can't be paying for fucking pussy on Venmo. You can't be doing that. Like, you're making it easy for them. Just like Bernie, when he went on 60 Minutes right before Super Tuesday, made it easy for them to sandbag. You just walk right into it. Yeah.
Look, as soon as the show took off, I had a conversation with Bubbles. She was in tears, but that was it. I cut that off.
Yeah.
I never went back to that establishment.
Sparky, did you see Hegseth speak at the King David Hotel of Menachem Begin fame in Menachem's youth? He blew it up. I did not see that. Maybe I saw that. I was not aware of the venue in one of the videos. I may have seen it, but just not known that's where it was. Miguel Cedeno Lozano, Bondi is a Nepo DEI hire. Sparky, thanks for the $10. Soros helped CIA set up NGOs in Eastern Europe to foment discord during the Cold War and helped them ever since, even domestically when he funded DA campaigns countrywide. Think Soros, think CIA. Thank you, Sparky. All right, let's move on. We got 2 more segments here before we go to the Q&A. All right, folks, this is a quick one, but this one is worth doing as the Trump transition takes shape as we prepare for Trump term 2. Senator Rand Paul went on a TV show here. Now, you want to talk about a DEI hire. Tell me this anchor was hired for any other reason but the shape of his chin. I mean, that is a chin right there. That is a chin hire right there. You talk about a guy, you are hired for one reason only, and that's that chin. But Laura Loomer, very upset about this. Senator Rand Paul says he opposes President Trump's plan to use the U.S. military to assist with mass deportation of illegal aliens. It's a terrible image to send the world, he said. Rand Paul wants to protect illegal aliens, deport them all. Now, you could imagine what the replies to this video were. We will leave that to the imagination since I wanted to show you this video here. But here is this interview. Now, watch how nervous the chin gets when he realizes that Rand Paul is not going to toe the party line on this issue.
Said he would declare the stories all said he would declare an emergency to use the military to remove people. I'm not for that. I'm not for really most presidential emergencies because they smack of martial rule. They smack of no congressional approval. They smack of no checks and balances. So look, I'm supportive of President Trump. I'm supportive of removing people illegally here, particularly people who have committed crimes. But I'm not for the army marching up and down our streets. I think it's a terrible image to send the world. It's a terrible image for us as citizens. And so I hope he will think twice about trying to use an emergency edict to have the army patrolling our country.
And I understand that. I also just, I look logistically. It's like, I mean, we just let 20 million people or 50 million people into the country, which is just pure insanity. So I can understand why there's this, why some people maybe feel that there's a need for a drastic measure like that.
Listen, our audience just spit their TV dinners all over their wife beaters when they heard you say you don't want the military to go to house, dragging people out. Are you sure about that? Yeah, very, very flustered there. But Rand Paul kind of stays cool. Here's his answer.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to drastic measures. I'm not opposed to going all in for this, but I would do it in stages. The American people will be behind him 100% if he goes immediately after the people that have committed crimes, the people who've been released from prisons in Venezuela, the bad people that have been admitted to this country. Let's go there and start there. There is, to my mind, some question of the people, the housekeeper who's been here 30 years, and I don't see the military putting her in handcuffs and marching her down the street to an encampment. I don't really want to see that. I would like to see something where And I don't think that person should get to vote either. So I think that that person, there might be an in-between solution where if they're already working productively, that we allow them to have a work permit. So I would expand actually a lot of the idea of work permits for people, but they don't get rewarded with voting. And I really think us as conservatives who are supportive of Trump need to caution him about sending the army into our cities.
Yeah, you know, look, I know that whole work permit thing isn't going to fly with the MAGA base, since, you know, a lot of why they want them out is because they are under the impression that their labor is what stands between a lot of working class people and a good life. Couldn't possibly be Elon Musk or the incoming Treasury Secretary or any of the Wall Street goons that are flooding this Trump cabinet. No, it's the migrant beating you to the construction site. But I think Rand Paul is speaking some good sense there. I think he is speaking good political judgment there. This is another thing that I don't think people have thought through very much, especially a lot of these suburban women who ended up voting for Trump in greater numbers than were expected. When it's on the news that you're dragging out the nanny and you're dragging out the housekeeper with the screaming baby in the background, and the cop is, you know, grabbing a, you know, 7-year-old boy by his arms and dragging him by his knees out of an apartment and shoving him in the back of a van and sending him to a camp on the other side of the border wall, like, you really think people are going to like that? You really think that's going to play well? Like, I understand concerns about immigration. I'm not an open borders absolutist then by any means, but you really think that shit is gonna look good? You really think America really is up for that? If there are as many of them here as you say there are, if it's 20 million people, that's most people know someone who knows an undocumented person. You really think the military going door to door, rounding them up, shoving them into the back of vans, putting them in camps, I don't think that's going to look very good. I think Rand Paul is smart to put it out there, just to float as a trial balloon. Hey, why don't we think about how we're going to do this? Because he's right. You're not going to get a lot of political pushback, if any. It'll be negligible. Someone sneaks across the border and kills somebody or commits a violent crime and you want to deport them, nobody's going to really argue with that. But beyond that, yeah, man, you talk about fucking dragging mothers and babies out of apartments. Yeah, I don't think that's going to play too well.
All right, so that's a good point in terms of whether wages can be depressed and the overall conditions of an industry can be eroded by specifically illegal immigrant labor. I've experienced it.
Yeah,
I've experienced it. When I started driving a horse and carriage, I used to say I was like being a gangster with a horse, man. I'd be walking around cash all the time. Immigrants came in who were not legal to work, and it was completely unenforced, and they destroyed it. I wound up making a quarter of what I had been making before that. Construction. My neighborhood, a lot of people were in construction. When I was a kid, that was a very good job. Over time, largely because you could get illegal immigrants to do it for nothing.
Oh, sure.
It degraded and degraded and degraded. So that's legitimate. But one, you're right that people like Elon want to talk about that and nothing else. There's that. But also, a lot of people are not thinking through the optics of, are you going to set the military loose in American cities and drag what are mostly poor, impoverished, law-abiding people, families, out of their homes with the kids screaming? What do you think that's going to look like? Even people who are for mass deportation. Have you really thought about that? Have you really thought about how that's going to look? Have you really thought about how that's going to play? It's not my answer as I just laid out. I get it. I've experienced it myself. I'm not saying that that's not a legitimate concern of working people. But there's got to be some kind of middle ground. The example that he's talking about of the housekeeper who's been here for 30 years, do you really want to drag her out of her home and deport her back to wherever she came from? Really? I think he's right. Start with the illegal. Start with people who've committed crimes. Start with criminals, and let's work it out from there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty obviously the best way to go about that if you're going to take this on as a project. And, you know, the other thing that I would say, obviously, on the wage front, don't forget, these are the same conservatives who make the argument that wage growth drives inflation. Now, I'm not saying that workers shouldn't get paid more. Obviously, they should. But follow their argument through. So what are they saying? They're saying if they deport 20 million illegal immigrants, that Americans are going to get paid more. Well, according to their own logic, that's going to drive prices up. Plus, you have tariffs, which are going to drive prices up. So according to their own logic, like I said, I'm not an economist. I couldn't talk you through this. I'm just challenging them based on what they spout as economic gospel, more or less. Right. Okay, so if you're telling us, I mean, end wokeness when the minimum wage goes up in California says that now the hamburger prices go up too much. So if you take 20 million illegal immigrants, low-wage workers out of the workforce, and that drives wages up plus tariffs, isn't that going to create an inflationary bubble? Again, I'm just saying, according to you. So how do you plan on handling that? Like, what is your follow-through on that? I don't think they have it in them to get that many people out of the country. And I think what Rand Paul's signaling there, too, you know, look, Rand Paul's been around a while. His father was a politician for a long time. I think he understands the impracticality of this, too. Aside from the optics, the impracticality. It's going to be too much of a shock to the labor market. Right. I think that's what he's thinking about there also. It's a policy that I think gave a lot of people an emotional high, an emotional jolt. Right. Because this is basically, I mean, I talked to Russell about this offline, and I actually tweeted this. You know, the Trump administration now looks like Reaganomics with the illegal immigrant as the new welfare queen. You know, with Reagan, it was the welfare queen. That was the scapegoat. Right. We punish the people on welfare, and that's supposed to improve your lot in life. Well, this is the same thing. Mass deportations are a prerequisite to improving the working class's lot in life.
Well, and if you look back at that history, remember, Reagan told you it was going to improve your life, and that is where we saw this explosion in wealth inequality.
Of course, poverty
did not improve your life.
Exactly.
It did not improve your life.
And I don't think it will this time either, because while I do, like I said, yes, I do understand what you're saying about it driving down wages. I think it's not a coincidence that as we had our hot labor summer in 2021, that's when the border started opening up post-COVID, right? Post-pandemic. So
I believe they did that to destabilize the labor market.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of truth to that. But there's also the supply chain, right? The supply chain. Companies can just decide to produce less. Do you think these food companies are going to pay people a living wage to go and pick the fruit in the field? Like, do you think that's what they're going to do? Or do you think they're just going to pay fewer people to pick less fruit and charge more? I mean, that they did that already. We already know that when they had trouble meeting their supply goals, they simply choked supply and then charged more for the limited supply they made. They've already done. They've already told us they're willing to do that. They've already demonstrated that.
Point being, you have to break these people's power before. It's not always going to be a game of heads they win, tails you lose.
Exactly.
No matter what they do, you're going to take it in the ass because they're going to make sure of it. They're going to make sure of it. They're never going to let you benefit.
Yes. That is a concise way of saying what I meant to say. Yes, that's what I am getting at. So it's not that unchecked immigration can't depress wages. It's that don't assume that because unchecked immigration is a means of depressing wages, don't assume the inverse, that controlled immigration means your wages are going to go up. No, they got 50 other ways they could fuck you.
Well, and the economy at this point is just completely divorced from reality.
Yeah.
Look, New York State is losing residents faster than any other state, and the rent in New York City keeps hitting record highs.
Yeah.
That is an economy that is just completely divorced from reality. Reality is no longer driving prices.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, we got one more segment. We're going to take some Rumble rants and super chats first, and then we're heading to Rumble for the Q&A.
There's my big takedown of modern art.
That's right.
I'm waiting a long time for this.
Russell's Art School segment. Helmet Head, thank you for the $5. I'm a Canadian, and in case I see Netanyahu, I went to my local sex shop and bought some handcuffs because we're a serious country. There you go. Thanks, Helmet Head. Appreciate that. Put them to use. Just had a friendly exchange over Gaza with an old conservative who supported Trump. They repeated some of the talking points. Hamas, Israel's our friend, etc. I relate a few facts. That Gaza is a concentration camp. History didn't start on 10/7. The murder of kids, AIPAC, struck a chord with them, that we were giving over $3 billion a year to Israel before October 7th. Yeah, well, whatever you got to do. Thank you, Ravid Laz. Appreciate that very much. Okay, Nocturnal Human, I'm waiting for the Rumble heroin ads, Russell. Doctors don't want you to know this. Thank you, Nocturnal Human. Exley Confidential, Bernie was a squandered New Deal, chance for establishment to throw a bone and keep people passive. Imagine 1936 if New Deal was killed in the womb when Mussolini was elected. POTUS. Thank you, Exley. Appreciate that. Doc Durkin says that the American citizenry were not having their jobs and livelihood threatened if they speak out against genocide. How many more Americans would be speaking out against Israel at this time? Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, and you can expect that to get exponentially worse in the coming months, for sure. What's the cut on the T-shirts? Athletic or couch revolutionary fit? Thank you. They are the standard comfort tees. We went with the standard conventional comfort tees, Soccer Papa. Thank you very much. Ours in Revolt. Love Yankee politics. It's a hilarious Punch and Judy show, and the show must go on. Thank you very much.
That's easy for you to say.
Correction, Nicaragua sued Germany. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure they sued the Netherlands. I'm pretty sure they sued. I think they may have sued both, but I'm pretty sure the Netherlands were named in one of those lawsuits. But thank you for that. I will look into that. I'm pretty sure the Netherlands were named. Cryosynth, make austerity great again. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sparky on YouTube says Soros helped CIA set up NGOs in Eastern Europe to foment discord during the Cold War and helped them ever since, even domestically when he funded DA campaigns countrywide. Think Soros, think CIA. Oh, we got that one already, right? Here we go. Rose Isaac, thanks for the $50. Hey, let's give a cowbell to Rose Isaac over on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ari, your response to a neutrality party, it wouldn't be the case that a candidate running in the party would have to pretend to be apolitical on all other issues. Your predictions for the next 4 years could recenter foreign policy as a priority. Yeah, no, but I'm saying without
nuclear war tends to do that.
Yes, well, yeah, sure, absolutely. Not apolitical, but I think you have to organize around those kinds of issues. The meat and potatoes issues are the most powerful ones. And so, I'm not saying that the original question was supposing that they'd have to be, apolitical or not take a stand. But look, I think it is unfortunate. I don't wish it were this way. But if you looked at the exit polls here, this last election, foreign policy, 4% of people considered it a top issue with a genocide and World War III going on. I mean, if this wasn't the year to prioritize that a little more, what would be? But thank you very much for that generous donation. Eric Morrison, thanks for the $2. The fangs come out for anything pro-worker. That's absolutely right. DC says, make depression great again. Thank you, DC, for that donation. Sparky, MSNBC hasn't talked Hazel missile much. It's the biggest deal since the atomic bomb or Sputnik. You won't find much about it in a CIA cold and curated news feed. Watch Napolitano, the Duran, or Burletic. I've seen stuff about it. I just haven't looked into it yet. I'm not sure Trump's even as hopeful as a game of Russian roulette. Empires don't usually fade away. They collapse. I was being sarcastic about him pulling the rug out from under Israel, by the way. Oh, good to hear, Sparky.
Yeah, would think that, yeah.
I would think so. All right, we got one more segment. Then we're going to the Q&A. We got a few more Super Chats and Rumble Rants, which we'll get to before the end of the show. But thank you all very much for being here. We got one more song, everybody. Here it is.
All right, so this is something I've wanted to get into for a while. I don't get to use my art degree very often. This is the very rare case. Usually you bring up your art degree, you don't get past the getting punched.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You get punched and you can't talk anymore because they assume you're one of these jerk-offs. All right, so we're going to go into a little bit of history of how we got here, how we wound up in a place where, as you can see in the headline, someone just paid $6.2 million for a banana duct taped to a wall. Now, there are a lot of reasons that our whole art world has become this absurd. So let's talk a little bit about where it started. Marcel Duchamp was really the person who first pioneered the idea of, as you can see here, attaching a bicycle wheel to a stool, putting it in a gallery, and calling it art. Now, this is a 1951 version of this, of bicycle wheel. But he first did this at a show in 1913. Now, he called these ready-mades, you might call it found art, where he would take objects and alter them in some way and call it art. Very famously, in 1917, he submitted a signed urinal as art. This is one of his most famous. He took a postcard of the Mona Lisa, and it was kind of a play on words. If you say these letters in French, you're basically saying she has a hot ass, meaning she's horny. Now, these kinds of, so he was kind of the original troll. And I'll say Marcel Duchamp actually could paint. He actually had ability, unlike a lot of people who followed in the footsteps of his prank. And the art world at that time was extremely stuffy and repressive. They rejected a lot of people that we today would legitimately consider great artists. Maybe most famously, Van Gogh couldn't get any recognition in his lifetime. It's part of why he deleted himself. So I think Duchamp, who had genuine ability, trolling the art critics in the art world, was legitimate. But I don't think he really imagined or intended for the entire art world to follow his example and expect people to take things like this seriously. This is Mondrian, who is considered a great artist. I have never agreed with that. This is 1937. And of course, our friend Jackson Pollock, who literally dripped paint onto canvases to create these masterpieces. When I was just in Chicago, there was a man admiring his work, and I used some of my Rosetta Stone Spanish to call it basura, which he didn't seem to appreciate. So now, one artist who really hated modern art created this evocatively titled painting called Farmhouse in 1914. That artist's name was Hitler. And he made a big show when he made the most of his failed art career by parlaying it into a career in politics. Decided to hold degenerate art exhibits. So he did a very famous exhibit where a lot of people who were, pioneers of modernism or considered great artists today had their work put on display. 1 million Germans came to see it, some because they agreed with the Nazi Party's take on degenerate art, some just because they were Germans who wanted to see this art before you could never see it again. Toured around the country, another 1 million people saw it. Now, you might be alarmed saying, oh my God, I have the same opinion of art as the Nazis. Well, the Nazis were not really known for their moderation or nuance. So as you can see from the painting in the picture here by Emil Nolde, I don't think this is really what most of us are thinking of when we think of degenerate, ridiculous, over-the-top, meaningless art. In fact, this is really not pushing things much further than El Greco did. I apologize for the glare. That's my own picture from Rome. Than El Greco did at the height of the Renaissance. And certainly Hieronymus Bosch was doing some pretty trippy stuff around 1500. So it's not like everybody who'd worked in a very realistic style, which seems to be what the Nazis preferred. Now, strangely, the Nazis were these virulent anti-communists, and they fought against modern art. But another group that was also anti-communist, staunchly anti-communist, has actually been largely responsible for the spread and legitimation of this kind of art, legitimization. And that is the CIA, as a lot of our friends will know. In fact, our viewers first put me onto this. I had never heard about it, to be honest. Modern art was CIA weapon. So let's read a little of this. For decades in art circles, it was either a rumor or a joke, but now it is confirmed as a fact. The Central Intelligence Agency used American modern art, including the works of such artists as Jackson Pollock, Robert Motherwell, Willem de Kooning, and Mark Rothko, as a weapon in the Cold War, in the manner of a Renaissance prince, except that it acted secretly. The CIA fostered and promoted American abstract expressionist painting around the world for more than 20 years. The connection is improbable. This was a period in the 1950s and 1960s when the great majority of Americans disliked or even despised modern art. I would argue they still do. President Truman summed up the popular view when he said, quote, "If that's art, then I'm a Hottentot." As for the artists themselves, many were ex-communists, barely acceptable in the America of the McCarthyite era, and certainly not the sort of people normally likely to receive U.S. government backing. Why did the CIA support them? Because in the propaganda war with the Soviet Union, this new artistic movement could be held up as proof of the creativity, the intellectual freedom, and the cultural power of the U.S. Russian art, strapped into the communist ideological straitjacket, could not compete. So I actually, in my queue right now, I have a book about this, the Congress of Cultural Freedom, I think it's called. But yeah, the article goes on to say most of these artists were useful idiots of the CIA. They weren't, most of them were not knowingly working with the CIA, but the CIA would fund these front foundations that would put this art on tour. And the artists, of course, would get paid, not really knowing they're getting paid by the CIA. Now, would this kind of art have become popular anyway? Well, Duchamp was doing what he was doing in 1913. Mondrian's doing what he's doing in 1937. So this certainly would have been a very strong strain in art. Would it have been the dominant strain in art? We'll never really know. One would imagine that realism would have competed with it more strongly without that level of CIA support. So that is how we get, in brief, and of course that's a short version, Cliff Notes version, but that's how we get to a place where people are paying millions of dollars for a banana taped to a wall. The art market is going bananas over $1 million banana. The piece, Comedian, consists of an ordinary yellow banana affixed to a white wall with a diagonal piece of silver duct tape. Since the Italian artist Maurizio Catalan debuted the work at Art Basel Miami Beach 5 years ago, what's become known as the banana has turned into a viral sensation. It's attracted crowds, copycats, and even its own cryptocurrency. The banana also is reigniting a long-running debate about the value society is willing to place on an everyday object simply because an artist calls it art, and they mention here the Duchamp piece. Parrotin Gallery originally sold Catalan's duct tape banana in an edition of 3, plus 2 artist proofs or early prototypes, so 5 bananas in all, for between $120,000 and $150,000 a piece in 2019. On Wednesday, Sotheby's in New York estimated its example from this bunch would sell for at least $1 million, but at least 7 bidders chased it far higher. Ultimately, it sold to Chinese collector Justin Sun, founder of cryptocurrency platform Tron. He intends to pay for the piece in crypto. After the sale, Sun said he considered the piece to be historic, but he also said he had plans of his own for the banana. Quote, "In the coming days, I will personally eat the banana as part of this unique artistic experience, honoring its place in both art history and popular culture." Catalan, 64, splits his time between Milan and New York and has acted as the art world's court jester since the 1990s. He is known for creating impish, realistic sculptures that satirize powerful and wealthy institutions, including politicians and the Catholic Church. The artist said he came up with the idea of taping a banana to a wall after wearying of seeing a surfeit of big splashy canvases dominating the art fair circuit. A piece of fruit might, quote, cut through the noise by putting something absurdly simple in the center of it all, he said. Once he saw the piece drawing huge crowds to the fair, he said he called his dealer and, quote, tried to buy back one of the editions for 4 times its original price, but no luck. They had already sold. Parotin declined to comment. Sotheby's marketed the fruit as a pinnacle of artistic achievement. Yes, I am not making any of this up. That is exactly what it says here. On par with Andy Warhol's soup cans, rather than as a bread and circuses distraction, if you say so. In the run-up to its evening sale of contemporary art on Wednesday, the house installed the banana by itself in a space with an arched door within its York Avenue headquarters, creating a sacred atmosphere around it. It previously displayed Comedian in 9 other cities, including Dubai, Tokyo, and Taipei. The house also gave out banana emblazoned T-shirts and stickers. So just going back a little, so that's the hollowed space they set aside for people to contemplate the meaning of the duct-taped banana on the wall. To keep
Warhol did a banana too, right? That was the Velvet Underground.
Well, he did a banana, the Velvet Underground album cover.
Yeah.
But he didn't do a banana duct tape to a wall. And hey, with Warhol, not to get into the weeds, if you see part of the purpose of art and an artist to define the zeitgeist of their era or to help people find symbols that allow them to conceptualize it, I think his work did that for the moment that he was in. It reflected the new mass consumer culture. And again, like Duchamp, he could paint. He could actually paint. He could actually draw. He actually had skill. That goes a long way for me. If you can if this is something you're doing by choice and not because you're just not good enough to do more traditional kind of work, that makes a big difference to me. To keep a work made of a real banana intact, the artist enlists the work's owner, who receives a 14-page sheet of instructions that doubles as a certificate of authenticity, to continually refresh the installation by buying their own supply of new bananas and tape. So you basically end up making this yourself and claiming that it's not the original tape, it's not the original banana, so it's not even that. One stipulation is that the banana's curve should point right, not left. This is really like a Navy experiment to see how ridiculous you can make people behave if you give them instructions and tell them something has value. Like, how far could you push that? Yes. No, this is worth millions of dollars. It has to point right. It has to point to the right. The fruit should also be displayed vertically, not horizontally like a smile, and roughly at eye level. If someone visiting Sotheby's preview tries to rip the banana off the wall and eat it like artist David Datuna did at one point during its Miami Fair debut, Sotheby's expert David Galperin said, "We have backups." A version of the banana already belongs to a museum, sealing its cultural posterity. One of the original buyers of Comedian donated their banana to New York's Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum. The museum has yet to put the fruit on view. One waits with bated breath. Billy Cox, a Miami-based collector, was another one of the original banana buyers. Cox said he was transfixed as soon as he saw the piece at the fair, calling it an important historical work that comes about once or twice a century. No, this is not a Monty Python sketch. This is all real. He said he and his wife Beatrice have no plans to sell their version. Sotheby's declined to identify the seller of its piece, who bought it from another gallery earlier this year. But a tiny symbol in its catalog listing indicates that the house will accept cryptocurrency for the work, a rarity in these evening sales that offers a clue into the artwork's potential pool of bidders. Now that really to me is consistent because you're talking about fake money, fake art, fake value. It's all of a piece. Like it makes a lot of sense that the cryptocurrency world would be interested in this. Cryptocurrency investors who last caused an art world stir when they unsuccessfully competed to buy a copy of the U.S. Constitution at Sotheby's in 2021 have gravitated in recent weeks to a pair of meme coins inspired by Catalan's banana, including a token called BAN that was minted on October 25th by a Sotheby's employee. The employee, Michael Buhana, is head of digital art and NFTs at the house, and he said in a statement on X that he launched the coin anonymously on the Pump.fun platform a day after Sotheby's offered the banana for sale as a spontaneous project and a personal hobby completely unrelated to my role at Sotheby's. He said he told a few friends about the coin early on, but didn't encourage them to buy it. More than 23,000 wallets now hold BAN, and its fluctuating market cap has climbed to as much as $330 million in the days leading up to the Sotheby's auction. The circumstances and surge have irked other investors, with some 7,000 wallets holding another meme coin minted in August called BTW, which stands for Banana Tape Wall. Its market cap is hovering around 4.5 million. BTW holders are now jockeying for more attention by promoting their token on X with hashtags like #StayTaped. Buhana declined to comment on the tokenized rivalry. Whatever it ultimately sells for, the fact that the banana is resurfacing at auction as the market tries to shake off a slump is telling, Catalan, its creator, said, quote, "It's as if the auction house is leaning on a provocation to keep the show alive." Do you think? Now, okay, now the temptation here, and this is exactly what they want you to think. This is exactly what they want you to think. The rich want you to think they're stupid. They want you to think they're dumb. They want you to sit here and hear all this and listen to this. So I read the whole thing because it gives you an idea of what a house of mirrors our economy is at this point. Some guy at Sotheby's made a coin. Now it's worth $43 million. You have mass homelessness. You have runaway veteran suicide. You've got an ongoing genocide. You've got this grotesque concentration of wealth, which is what empowers and allows this. The whole economy is just fake. So your temptation is to say, God, these stupid rich people who buy these bananas. Now, the stupid people are the petite bourgeois, or as we call them in our age, the professional managerial class. That class has existed in many societies. The Romans called them the equestrian class, that striving class that has just enough to convince themselves that they're elites, but not enough to actually be elites. Those are the people who crowd the MoMA and pretend to like it. Those people are stupid. They are really stupid, functionally, if not fundamentally. The rich people who are buying this stuff, they're not stupid. The reason they're doing this is for everything but believing that this is good art. Money laundering. A lot of this stuff is money laundering. There have been estimates that 40% of art sales are money laundering schemes. Avoiding taxes. Very often people will buy a painting and then donate it as a way of avoiding taxes. As a hedge against inflation, which if you have enough money to be thinking that way, you can afford to do this, but it's really not about the art. Over half of apartments in Midtown Manhattan are vacant, but they're owned by people who are parking their money. And those people will very often also buy paintings. So what the hell do they care what's in the painting? What do they care? That doesn't matter for them. Yeah, red line on it. They're never gonna see it, except maybe they might hang it in their house as a flex. That's about as much as they like it. The people who are brainwashed to think that they have to pretend to like this shit, they have to pretend to understand this shit, the whole grift depends on that, because they have to be chattering about it in order to justify these values and to pretend there's an actual art world going on here, when really what you've got are tax avoidance schemes and money laundering. That's what this is really about. But aside from that, I think on a more abstract level, a lot of people, they talk about humiliation rituals of celebrities. Some people thought John Cena, I think this was just a gag, but a lot of people interpreted it as a humiliation ritual that Hollywood was putting him through in order to maintain his position in the pecking order. Reputedly, Diddy had a very interesting way of testing men's anal passages with a hard-boiled egg, which drew a lot of attention to this picture of him with friend of show Russell Brand here. But, you know, all of this talk about humiliation rituals, it's very focused on celebrities and celebrity culture. But when you have a lot of Americans, including a lot of veterans, who are living like this, what could be more of a humiliation ritual than to watch a guy eat a $6.2 million banana just because he can? That is a humiliation ritual, but it's a humiliation ritual that is not aimed at Russell Brand. It's not aimed at John Cena. It's aimed at all of us. When you have people who can't afford to pay their rent, who can't afford to clothe their kids, how does that make them feel about themselves when they see these people who start a imaginary coin based on imaginary art, who all of a sudden are worth hundreds of millions of dollars? What is that telling you about you? What is that telling you about your place in the pecking order? What is that telling you about your value in society? So tax avoidance and money laundering and showing off, all of that aside, I think part of this is really a way of putting all of society through a humiliation ritual by telling you how little value you really have to these people. They value a banana more than they value you.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this is a particularly pretentious version of it, you know, but I think a lot of like the real estate shows, you know, where they show you these mansions of, you
Right.
know, very wealthy, successful people. I mean, what is that? I mean, that's rubbing it in your face as well. You know, it's a country and a culture that just places such little value on the life of an ordinary person. And now you can have this entire, just like as you just laid out there, a totally fake economy generated around what? I mean, honestly, Jewish street peddler in me, my blood, my father will be very proud of me if he's watching.
They're like, well, I have some apples in the fridge.
Well, no, you could go and sell bananas and duct tape outside the MoMA. You could probably do very well. Like, just
Probably
go out
could.
there with a wheelbarrow full of bananas and duct tape and just make them up right there. Just make copies of the art right there. You can make your own. That
I'll
would
call
probably do well.
Jose.
Yeah, call Jose. You should go down there and do that. That's not a bad idea. Because obviously this is very famous. This is a big story. It's a viral story. I mean, you're seeing this all over the place now. And so, yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the P. Diddy, did you get the tweet I sent you about the Johnson's baby lotion duct taped to the wall? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. No, but I mean, look, this is the decadence. This is the mindlessness. This is the shallowness of just, you know, the 1% of the 1%. They are like you said, they're not stupid, but they are very shallow. They're extremely shallow. They have extremely poor taste. What's the guy's name? He's a great writer. I had him on the audio podcast way back. He wrote an article about, you know, liberals' contempt for white workers. I forget his name. I will remember it. I will look it up during the break. But he wrote this great piece about the sort of banality of the artistic taste of, like, you know, the wealthy liberal class. And he said, it starts out, he says, if you ever go into one of these people's apartments, the walls will be painted white, but they won't call it white. They'll insist it's Chantilly lace or jasmine rice. They'll come up with some other name for white, right? They won't say it's a white wall, but even though it is. So yeah, I mean, that's what comes to mind here.
Yeah, well, it's it very much parallels what's going on at other levels of society, where you have the politicians, they believe one thing, they live in one world, and the people who support them have a complete misunderstanding of their role in the pecking order and the care that the politicians have for them. It's the same thing here. You have these people who have been trained, usually at universities, to pretend that they're really in awe at a signed toilet bowl, which really runs counter to what Duchamp was trying to do. I think Duchamp would have thought you were an idiot if you looked at that toilet bowl. Oh my God, it's Duchamp's toilet bowl. It was a troll. It was a troll. And you've been trained now to look at not only Duchamp's work, but the successors that actually presented work like this in a serious manner, as if you get it, as if you like it. You don't you don't like it. You don't get it. There's nothing to get. The people who are really buying and selling this shit, they're laughing at you. They're laughing at you, man. There's like back in the day, my my grandparents' generation, they all had those little tchotchke figurines of like European aristocrats. And it was their way of imitating the tastes of the upper class. That was very common when you went to people's homes back then, that they would, if they had those heirs, they would have those little figurines of, French Empire kind of stuff. That's what this is. People will go get those Monet prints, and they'll go get prints of art that they don't really like. They don't really have an interest in. It's an affectation, and they need those people. Just like with politics, it's built on the backs of people who don't actually benefit, and it's built as a trap by the people who do benefit from it.
Yep, I agree. Furrow Squeen, I feel bad for Sparkies who weren't impressed with his question. So here, have my Rumble rant, mate. Make Ukraine or Russia again. Ha. Also, thanks for making Sunday nights great again, boys. Thank you. And for Sparky was just kidding, as was later revealed. Thank you, Furrow Squeen. Zay Cormans, I don't know about his recent rhetoric, but Elon Musk once asked for EV charging subsidies to be taken away. He said, we don't need them. Don't spend on that. That's wonderful of him. Z Corbin's Rand sticking with his dad Ron. Ron opposes a border wall because governments can use to keep its citizens in the country. Thank you. Ravid Laz, fellas, did you see the controversy with Gladiator 2 with the removal of Palestinian actress May Kalamawi's dialogue? I have not heard about that. No. That movie's been getting decent reviews, not great reviews, but decent reviews. Maybe Gilgamesh saw it. Maybe he wants to tell us how it is in the Q&A. Russ, you would have a great convo on modern art with Eddie Liger of Midwestern Marks. He literally just recently did a stream on his criticisms of modern art. There you go.
Interesting. So let me answer a couple of the comments. Yeah, I'm not slamming Monet, but Monet prints are a very common affectation of those people. Like Monet, they're still doing real art at that point.
I'll slam Monet. You want to fight about Monet? Who in the chat wants to fight about Monet? I'll slam him. I don't give a fuck. Think I'm afraid of you, Monet simps out there? Come at me, bitch.
Yeah, it's not about that they love Monet. It's about signaling that they like Monet. Yeah,
I'll send you my home address on the back of a Monet postcard. Right? I'll send you
look. I won't fight over Monet.
With my address, and you can come fight me.
Degas.
Yeah, right.
I'm right there.
Zay Corman Keaton, the wage price spiral is a myth. Austrian economists have debunked this. Government spending and the banking system are the source of inflation, as they are the only one who can print money. Thank you. Sorry, I just had a problem with this. It came back. Did it come back? Oh, good. Thankfully, it came back. Yeah, this YouTube studio backend has really not been great lately. Devanes, Rick of Spades did more art with a banana than that trash. There you go. Thank you. All right, let's take some super chats. We got some more.
I hear you got some girls put on a show in Vietnam with a banana.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Lotus out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah. States with strong agricultural economy, says Janice Anderson, will take a massive hit if they deport all the illegals. Florida drove them out and their farms couldn't find workers. Yeah, I mean, that's something I think Rand Paul's thinking about there. Dino M, thanks for the $5. Maybe it's where that banana has been. Has anyone asked Miriam Adelson if she likes bananas? There you go. LTS would love the opportunity to debate you about the Entartetekunst, Russell. That's German. I don't know. I hope I'm saying that right. And fill out the gaping spaces in the story from Independent about abstract expressionism. Fun listening anyway. Yeah, you feel free to organize that debate on a different channel. Marky Mark, thanks for $5. CCF also funded magazines Dermont.
Coming to you next Sunday.
Yeah, right, exactly. Housing Frankfurt School post-World War II. They wrote the role of the German middle class out of the history of Nazism. Without money laundering, the art market would collapse, says Eric Maines. Yep, absolutely. Adel Said, Finkelstein's book on cancel culture should be required reading for liberals once they are done with Thomas Frank's Listen Liberal. Yeah, we interviewed Norm about that.
That was what we first interviewed him about.
We read 3 pages of it, and we interviewed him about it. Yeah. He says, you read 2 pages of my book. He assumed we hadn't read it at all.
Yeah, I read about
Russ read the whole thing. I didn't. I read like the first part of it. It said in the 2 sections. I read the first.
Well, with the time we had, I had to jump around a little bit, but I got
it was long. That book was a monster. That was
a lot.
That was a big book. Yeah. Eric Maine says, "Damn you, Keaton. Allison Williams heard you last week prognosticating she would end up looking like Nancy Mason is allegedly." Okay, I'm not gonna read that whole thing. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, I hope she's doing all right. Steve McNelly, thanks for the $50. Hey, $50 from Steve McNelly. Let's get
thank you.
A piece going there. Okay, this one I lost when I reviewed. Okay, so Rose Isaac, thank you for the 50. Oh, sorry. I'm going to have to get to Steve's in a minute because this one I almost lost. So Rose Isaac for $50. Sorry, I want to read this one because the YouTube studio disappeared it, and I just recovered it. So it's another cowbell for Rose. Thank you very much, Rose. And I apologize. We missed this in the queue, but we caught it in time, thankfully. Russell, are you familiar with the works of Kazimir Malevich? He was one of the first abstract painters of the 21st century. Lenin didn't like his work, but didn't censor it. However, Stalin forced him to paint more traditional art until his passing. You familiar with that?
No.
Kazimir Malevich. All right. Well, thank you. Maybe you should look that one up. Since I didn't know you had an art degree. I never even knew you had an art degree.
You didn't know that?
No.
I was a theater art double major. I spent years drawing and painting, like fucking 4 to 6 hours a day.
Yeah, I was never good at drawing or painting. I'm a man of
very
few talents.
I haven't done it in a very long time.
Yeah. Steve McNelly, thanks for the $50. Appreciate that very much. If he really wanted to complete the piece, he should tape his next shit to the wall. There you go. That would be a good one.
It's been done.
Yeah, assuming it has enough form. He's got to take those fiber supplements.
Fiber,
before. Yeah, exactly. You don't want it shit dripping off the wall. Then your friends won't be too impressed by that. SB, thanks for the $5. Haas pointed out that both the right and left use art only to fetishize themselves and their ideas. The right via old Rome and the libs via furry and nudity. There you go. Did he do that stream with Liger there? I know they're both ACP members over there. All right. Froze Queen, I dropped a Malteser on the floor, but I have a bad back, so rather than pick it up, I kicked it under the fridge. You think I can get some money for it eventually? That's actually true. What is that? What would you drop onto the floor? A Malteser? What is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's like a candy.
Oh, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe. You probably could get some money for it, actually.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm surprised I never heard of it. I love visiting art museums, says my real name, but I always wear headphones to block the batshit things people say about the works. Thank you.
I love museums too, but not modern art museums. There's actually, look, someday I will get the time to put together the video essays of my travels last year. But I was in a museum. It was either in Italy or Greece. I can't remember which one. And for whatever reason, they had all of the classical antiquities and everything. And then they had a room with modern art. And I made a video where I said, okay, so look at this. look at this shit. Look at this. Look at this shit. It's like you walk in and it's just all the place where meaning and talent died.
Right. Yeah. Pretty lousy. Well, there's the museum, the Dia Museum in Beacon, where I used to live. I used to live right across the river. I never went. I was never interested. Oh, did you go to the Dia? No, what, you got a room of dirt in there? What, you got a pile of dirt in there? No, I didn't go to the Dia. We got dirt out here. I don't know if you guys knew this about the Hudson Valley. There's a lot of great dirt out here that I could watch for free.
There is.
Yeah. You can get coffee for less than, $3.50
That's
a cup.
it. You put a fence around it, call it art.
Yeah.
Get a few $1 million for it.
Russ, what's more nuts, NFTs or banana and duct tape? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's just the perfect cherry on the whipped cream of that story, that it spawned two competing cryptocurrencies that are now worth millions.
Yeah. Ken Texican knew a nurse that worked at the NATO Roll 3. She loved bananas. We didn't get bananas often during OEF, but I recall shoving a few into her cargo pockets at DFAC. Smile just lit up. Pure art. Thank you, Ken Texican. Appreciate that. Ravid Laz, since you guys didn't like the Stones' doom and gloom suggestion for a new sound drop when Keaton goes on his Cynic Minute, how about Master of Puppets by Metallica when you talk about AIPAC? That's not a bad idea. And, I actually didn't dislike your doom and gloom suggestion. I actually like that song a lot. It's a fairly new Stone song. It's a very good one, actually. I just don't think it has the cachet because it's not a well-known song of theirs, because it's a relatively new one.
Nobody's going to get it.
Yeah,
that has to be part of it with a sound drop.
Now, Master of Puppets is a little more, that has a little more cachet, so I like that one. But I did like the doom and gloom suggestion. I do dig that tune. It's a good song. It's one of their few good new songs, actually. Ken Texican says she had a beautiful smile even when she wasn't having bananas shoved into her pockets. Little things done for amusement, I guess, while in Afghanistan. Thank you, Ken Texican. Appreciate that. My real name says the SF MoMA, San Francisco MoMA, has some of the biggest turds in the art world. Jeff Koons, Michael Jackson, and Bubbles is worth a chuckle, however. All righty. Thank you, my real name. Appreciate that very much. Folks, we appreciate you very much for being here. Thank you. That's our show. We are going to head to Rumble for the Q&A in just a moment. So you could go to dodissidents.com/Rumble and catch us over there after a 5-minute intermission. Please head on over there. That'll be a lot of fun. Callers.
Yes, I have a timely intermission this week focused on nuclear war.
There you go. So you don't want to miss that. So we're going to take a 5-minute break here. Exactly. Give you guys a chance to head over for the after party. Phone lines are open. Patrons, paid Substackers, paid locals, members. If you want to call in, please do so now and claim your spot on the line. If you want to come over for the Q&A and hang out for the after party, it's dodissidents.com/Rumble. All are welcome. Patrons have call-in access. Everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on RBN for the Post-Duopoly show, and then back here Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thank you very much for tonight. Pleasure as always. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.